のエゴを切り裂く音量イヤホンで塞いでしまえとうとうとガラクタ吐き出すが一戦車君の歌を邪魔するんだレイヤー氷点下の夜いてつく君は灯した気持ちに転化してんだエンターキー押したらフェンダー歪ませて鳴らせストラトキャスター鳴りやまないサーカスナイト闇夜に迷子の僕をその口づけが変えるモーメント君の命はそうパーマネントロックロールは死なないやインシュタインも知らない速度で君は生き延ばすその1秒に僕は身を捧ぐロックロールは死なないやインシュタインも知らない速度で君は生き延ばすその1秒に僕は身を捧ぐ溶かした罪の重さ溶かした海の底は真っ黒に渦巻いた僕の瞳の良さ涙飲み込む愛はかじかむ全部返してそうして巡る命になって漂って僕はただ祈るのさ僕が壊した地球を抱いて歌いたい今日を生きられないあなたと飛び込むトゥモローランド鳴りやまないサーカスナイト闇夜に迷子の僕をその口づけが変えるモーメント君の命はそうパーマネントこれが僕のプレゼントロックロールは死なないやインシュタインも知らない速度で君は生き延ばすその1秒に僕は身を捧ぐロックロールは死なないやインシュタインも知らない速度で君は生き延ばすその1秒に僕は身を捧ぐロックロールは死なないやインシュタインも知らない速度で君は生き延ばすその1秒に僕は身を捧ぐロックロールは死なないやインシュタインも知らない速度で君は生き延ばすその1秒に僕は身を捧ぐロックロールは死なないやインシュタインも知らない速度で君は生き延ばすその1秒に僕は身を捧ぐロックロールは死なないやインシュタインも知らない速度で君は生き延ばすその1秒に僕は身を捧ぐロックロールは死なないやインシュタインも知らない速度で君は生き延ばすその1秒に僕は身を捧ぐロックロールは死なないやインシュタインも知らない速度で君は生き延ばすその1秒に僕は身を捧ぐロックロールは死なないロックロールは死なないロックロールは死なないロックロールは死なないロックロールは死なないロックロールは死なないロックロールは死なないロックロールは死なないロックロールは死なないロックロールは死なないロックロールは死なないロックロールは死なないロックロールは死なないロックロールは死なないロックロールは死なないロックロールは死なないロックロールは死なないロックロールは死なないロックロールは死なないロックロールは死なないロックロールは死なないロックロールは死なないロックロールは死なないロックロールは死なないロックロールは死なないロックロールは死なないロックロールは死なないロックロールは死なないロックロールは死なないロックロールは死なないロックロールは死なないロックロールは死なないロックロールは死なないロックロールは死なないロックロールは死なないロックロールは死なないロックロールは死なないロックロールは死なないロックロールは死なないロックロール
Hi! Oh yeah, my model's working, by the way. Guess why it wasn't working? I was kicking my feet too much while playing Baldur's Gate with Captain. Apparently God, that's still quite loud, isn't it?
Your eyes were filled with stars.
For me. Maybe that's just loud for me. I was kicking my feet too much while playing Baldur's Gate with Captain. I unplugged my fucking webcam. And today I was still just like, why? Why won't it work? Why? Found out why. Hold on, I'm gonna clear my throat. Wow, that was supremely gross. He didn't stop calling me Cocomelon. That's fucked up. That's fucked up. That's cruel and unusual. Today, the stage was yours. Transgender Jesus Christ, thank you for lurking. I trust you to redeem my soul. This me? That's absolutely me. That's me every day. I love clear your throat when we start making out. That transcends being hot and becomes a medical oddity. How long is your tongue? I'm sure someone in the chat would love to find out. And there she is.
Darlings, a new pop country starlings to the Main Street Legion Hall.
I can make it grosser, and that's what I fuck with about you. Eden, I'm hydrating with a free little Baja Blast Freezy. Does that count? That's the birthday treat you get from fucking Taco Bell. The throat clearing is like a third date thing for me, personally. Noted, noted, noted. Okay, so when we meet up, we gotta knock out date 1 and 2 fast. You know what? Yes. All right. I appreciate it. I appreciate you keeping me in line. Make sure I have the game installed. I do! Oh my god. It's like she's prepared. But I bet, as with all fucking games, it's gonna make me sign into some second party shit. Yep, there it is. There it is. So I'm gonna do that. Oh, we listen to this. Ah! Alta! Ah! Roran! Guys, we don't have to. We don't have to be cruel to me. We could be kind. Oh, I found the weirdest thing ever. I sweep the bus after I'm done driving it for work. Or I suppose... nope, button's not working. Button's never working. Really? None of them? Oh, that one works. There we are. I sweep the bus after I'm done driving it because I'm a kind, benevolent soul. Guess what I find? The weirdest trash I ever have? A full can of peas. I'm not even mad. I just have questions. 12 fucking months? Our anniversary makeout session has got to be extra special. You're such a fucking gem. Thank you for supporting me. Thank you for being here, and I'm glad you get to watch without ads. I'm glad you're purchasing something that actually has value to you, unlike other things you have done recently that I'm still mad at you for. Who's got the high ground now, Obi-Wan? And I've always said that. Why are you hydrating me so much? I'm gonna get a brain freeze, Eden. Is that what you desire? Is that what you want? You didn't even show me your cock last time on stream, even though everyone was begging you to. And still you come to torture me. It's messed up. Messed up. I'm shy about it. The nerve of streamers. And I will. And I'm calling my lawyer as we speak. Okay. Sorry, Rockstar Games still wants to install things in the background. The bastard. Kicking my feet again. Oh no, my webcam. Sure. Oh shit, it's just gonna work. Alright. Damn, I'm kind of excited to play Red Dead. so let's go ahead and move right to it. Ah! Hi, Emery! And by move right to it, I mean wait for a billion things to get out of my way so I can unfull screen it. Such violence, Emery. I take it you're having a rough day at work. Or a good day. You do it either way. Oh my god, it's making me accept terms of service. Leave me be, please, I beg of ye. There we are. Oh my gosh. Constantly fighting. So I'm sitting with my drawing tablet, barbecue sauce on my titties. Yes, yes. Taking up like good 30% of my desk, realize that this is a 16-inch one. The one I ordered is 27-inch. I have no idea how I'm going to find it and still be able to use my computer. New desk time, baby. Second desk. Art desk. Ah! I meant to pause the music. Because I'm going to pivot over to the game. I'm excited to play game. Gun sounds? Is everything good? Being capture good? It looks good. Let's see if it has a save. Nope, it doesn't. Yet. Well, we'll be starting over Red Dead 1. Oh no! Yippee! Okay, does anyone remember how to play? H for horse. Got it. Hey, come here, you bitch. Nixie thought the same thing happened? It's good to be in good company while I'm making a fool of myself.
Mr. Marston, I've been hearing about your plans.
Have you, Miss McFarlane?
Funny cow body 7 TV emotes?
Settle here and build
That's a weird ass centaur you're describing.
I'm afraid those aren't my plans.
Oh,
See, I already have a life. Well, I had one, and I'm trying to reclaim it. Or maybe what you could say is that I had two, and I'm trying to end one of them so the other can survive.
You do so love to talk in riddles, Mr. Marston.
he really
Do you do
does.
that, I wonder, as a substitute for having anything interesting to say?
This is the second time you've made that insult to me.
Oh, call me Bonnie, you fool. Call me Bonnie.
Miss McFarlane, I'm married. I have a son. I had a daughter, but she died. Years before that, I rode in a gang.
Oh, Jesus. It got heavier than I expected right off the...
Trains, held people ransom. We killed people we didn't like. Bill Williamson was in that gang. Now, if I don't capture my former brother in arms, great harm will befall my family. Now, I don't suppose any of this is very interesting to you, but I hope it explains why I wasn't so eager to talk about it.
No, I do understand. I had no idea. You poor man.
Even in this new country, memories don't really fade. My father was an illiterate Scot born on the boat into New York. He never saw his homeland, but to hear him talk about it...
He was an illiterate Scot?
Imagine he only ever
Spooks!
ate haggis.
I didn't know you were this guy's dad! Sorry.
And he hated the English for what they had done to his great-grandfather. don't forget. Nothing gets forgiven.
That's true. Especially when it comes to money. And you know, even now, after all his labors, my father's debts are still terrible. I worry every day about us losing the ranch. It would kill him.
My father died when I was 8 years old. His eyes were, well, let's just say he was blinded in a bar fight south of Chicago. My mother died during childbirth. She was a prostitute and he was her, well, I don't know what he was. So I was sent off to an orphanage and ran away and fell in with a gang.
My word.
Ah! Oh, Twitters, you sweet bastard. Thank you for supporting me for all this time, and I'm glad you get to watch it ad-free. I don't know how to react to the sad things being said on the television while you do kind things to my body.
People.
Sure. Enough suffering.
But I love you.
That's the life I left. I tried to leave. Said too much, Bonnie. I'm an uneducated killer, sent here to do all I can do well. Kill a man in cold blood so that another man may do his part to cut crime in an area, and a rich man can be elected governor on the back of these promises.
Woof.
Civilization is a truly beautiful thing, Mr. Marston. Listen, can you help me?
Well, I can try. What do you need, money?
No, nothing so complicated. I need an extra hand to take out the herd to pasture.
Sure. Point me in the right direction.
They're too cute. I feel like Bonnie's into me. Which makes it difficult for me to interact with because I don't have a connection with my character's wife. I only have a connection with the characters that I meet, you know? But I think I'm not gonna, I don't want this. This. That's all I wanted. Thank you. I think that's pretty common of Westerns.
Thank you for telling me all that back there. It must have been hard for you.
Hope you understand now why I've been playing my cards somewhat close to my chest.
I didn't know you had a wife and child. Then again, I don't think I ever asked. They're lucky to have a man like you.
How are you, Miss McFarland?
Yeah!
Nice job, Miss
Come on,
McFarland. That's it.
Come on.
He's got it.
Go more side.
Herd
Dude.
the cows down the road. Pretend you know what you're doing.
I'm trying. Hey, you, fucking get a move on.
Get right at them. Driving this way. Giddy up.
Dude, I'm gonna beat the shit out of you. This fucking brown cow is off to ruin my life. Probably a bull. Maybe that's the distinction. I don't know. No, they're all cows. She called them all cows. And why would you keep a bull with the cows anyway? I think you separate them. I don't know, man. I'm not a farmer. I know the punk-themed Belays commune, but, like, I don't actually have any communing experience. Oh.
All right, let's move this large herd out to the far pasture.
Let's go.
Squeeze back and forth behind them. Keep it nice and tight.
They all make something milky in the end? Hey, Helta. Therapy.
Barney's gonna love this. He's just showing off now. Watch for the runner.
Yep.
Going, Mr. Marston. Nearly there, Mr. Marston.
You're not bad with the herd. Ranching might be your true calling, Mr. Marston. Either that, or you were a cow in a past life.
I like that.
You, Miss McFarland.
I'll see you later. I have work to do back at the ranch.
Milky gives me an idea. Uh-oh. $5? Girl, I was doing that as a... I was just doing that as a nice, kind thing to do.
Come on.
Okay, more work. The bee is still here. Bee means quest, right? Or does it just always tell me where she's at? Oh, maybe no. Okay. Come back after 6 p.m. today. Ah, God, I wish I could read. Oops, I think I killed a chicken. That's bad. That's bad. What is that flag? Ah.
Easy, Ethan.
What?
Whoa
What?
there.
What are you saying in there? Were you calling me? What's up?
Excuse me, sir.
You're excused.
What are you waiting for? Climb aboard.
Why?
If you think you can handle it, mister, I'll set the horses to it. When you know where you're heading, mister, you be good and let me know.
I don't know where I'm heading. Thank you, though. Is this Armadillo? Yeah, it is. Sure.
Take me to Armadillo.
$8 seems like kind of a lot.
Sleep. I'll get you where you're going. I just need to close my eyes.
That was probably fine. Oh God. Captain, what have you done? Wait. Captain, why haven't you done this earlier? That looks fake. That's too good a stream to be real. Was she just built different? Which is also possible.
Ain't you looking great this evening?
Thanks! Ah.
And I can tell you with no uncertainty that miracle cures are no laughing matter. I bid you good day, sir.
Good day, sir!
Ah, Mr. Marston, good to see you. How have you been keeping?
I'm well, Mr.
Mr. West Dickens. Nigel West Dickens of East Cheap, London, New Waverly, New York, and Armadillo, New Austin. At your service.
At my service.
At everyone's service. At the service of science, of knowledge, of life.
How are your wounds?
Much, much better. But then they would be.
Would be.
I know a cure for all ailments, Mr. Marston.
Ah, I'm sure you do. And I'm sure for just $2 an ounce.
Have I ever seen a grown woman bust a melon?
But for you, sir, I do a bulk discount rate of $1.95 an ounce. As long as you buy 100 ounces or more. That's a lot of immortality.
Give it up, old man.
That's Mr. West Dickens to you, boy.
Give it up, old man.
Listen, Marston, I'm broke. But this stuff is good. It works. I need a healthy young man like you.
No.
Come along. Let's
Any
ride
volunteers
over
in
to
the
my
audience?
newest customer at Ridgewood, and I'll explain while we go.
Okay.
Head for Ridgewood Farm, John, and hurry. There are people there in dire need of my tonic.
Oh, I'm driving. Dude, it's your wagon. Whatever.
I heard about you, Mr. West Dickens.
And I about you, John Marston.
Hoodwinking the weak, gullible out of their hard-earned money.
My dear boy, it is you who is gullible, if I may be so bold, for heeding such ill-informed
You're
scuttlebutt.
as full of wind as a horse with the colic.
I have been blessed with the gift of language, and for that I will not apologize. But the West Dickens elixirs speak for themselves. My thousands of happy customers attest to that.
Those men trying to kill you didn't look so happy.
Skepticism is the bastard child of progress, John. Knowledge makes a fool into a doubting Thomas. It's the cross I bear. As
We're looking for a
pioneer
lady willing to bust a melon
and medical research.
with her
You
legs.
seem to be mistaking me for an idiot.
My tonic cures all known
But you are
ailments,
welcome to
and I
volunteer.
guarantee you. But for the sake of argument, even if it didn't, if my tonic is such a sham, how do you explain the fine battle in which you find me? Last time you saw me, I was knocking at death's door.
You should thank the doctor for that. And I reckon you were acting it up worse than it was.
Act I can, John. A more convincing Othello there has never been. And so shall you, a fair Iago or Cassio mate.
I don't like the sound of this.
Showmanship, John. The flourish, the bow. We are operating in a competitive marketplace. Our product must stand
Hour?
out.
And how does this involve me?
We're going to use your God-given talent to our advantage.
I'm really starting to regret
I'll drop
this.
you off at the outskirts of Ridgewood. That way, it won't look like we came together. Once I'm set up, saunter nonchalantly into the crowd that is sure to be forming. Eventually, I will call you up to try my tonic. After extolling the virtues, I will have you perform a few feats of wonder to amaze and impress the fleeing.
Such as?
Oh, nothing out of the ordinary for a man in your line of work, I assure you.
And what exactly do you know of my line of work?
It's all a sham.
No, just a little innocent ballyhoo to grease the wheels of enterprise, that's all. Do you think that buxom young girl you see on the Voyage camera posters knows the first thing about photography? Advertising, my boy, is the future.
You'd best be a man of your word.
It's not a future I'd love to be a part of. You are exactly as marketable. You send a video of you crushing a melon with your legs in Dollar Roll,
No one sees us.
no one's ever gonna leave you alone again.
See you shortly, and remember, showmanship.
How do I put my gun away? Ah! Okay, well that's something. Ah! Ah, Jesus. I'm just speaking the truth. Wow, there really is a crowd fucking... Alright. Well, it is a pretty obnoxious wagon.
Ladies, gentlemen, this right here is the result of years of medical research. Friends, hardworking souls of Chola
He's
Springs,
literally selling snake oil.
Gather round. Do you suffer from rheumatism, lumbago, acute chronic sciatic, neurologic, or inflammatory pain? Well, I represent the only company that makes the genuine article that cures headaches, neuralgia, earache, toothaches, backache, swelling, sprains, sore chests, swelling of the throats, contracted cords and muscles, anxieties and ravaged nerves, stiff joints.
Fuck, are you selling
wrenches,
coke?
dislocations, cuts and bruises, and
It adds vitality and vigor to the healthy man.
But can you prove it, old man?
Oh, I'm sure there's some customer here who could prove the qualities of its by...
There are 2
taking a
bottles
drink
of snake
right now.
oil in front of you.
You, sir, come up
I
here.
don't think I'm gonna
Step
help you
right up.
again. This guy stinks.
That's the spirit. Ladies and gentlemen, pay close attention. This poor, wretched volunteer, entirely unknown to me, will demonstrate the effects of Dr. West Dickens' own patent tonic. Be you a cowpoke or athlete, this miraculous elixir developed with the wisdom of the East keeps the muscles supple and relaxes the cords. It loosens the joints and gives a feeling of youth and vigor to the whole system. Not possible, I hear you say. Well, doubt no longer. Faith can move mountains, but I ask not.
He's gonna ask me to get hard for this crowd.
Today, science will
I just
be
know it.
vindicated. Your eyesight is greatly improved. Is that not so, friend?
If you say so.
That's right, it is. You heard him. What a good sport you are, sir. Now, gaze over yonder at that porch. If you squint, you may just be able to make out the skull that's hanging there. Go ahead, friend. Shoot that skull and demonstrate the miraculous eyesight you now possess.
Everyone backing up. Whoever's windows these are would be protesting.
Remarkable! The eyesight of an eagle, granted by imbibing Dr. West Dickens' own patent tonic.
Anybody can make that shot. This man is a fraud.
I believe that.
If your eye's so damn sharp, why don't you try shooting my hat out of the air?
My friends, our test case
How do I deadeye? I forgot how to deadeye.
has been challenged to shoot a gentleman's hat out of the sky above our heads.
You can fool these people, but you ain't fooling me. Right. Let's just see how sharp you is with a moving target.
Get ready to shoot.
Hold on. Deadeye is the middle. Okay.
That hat.
See? That tonic is...
Have you ever seen such an eye? Behold the power of the elixir, plucked out of the sky.
Hey! Hey! What? You think you can put a hole in a man's hat and just walk away, do you?
Dude, you offered it.
Like that around here, mister.
Go ahead and shoot my head if you want to try, but you gotta try and make the same shot.
Challenge of battle has been offered to our volunteer.
Oh, I don't want to.
Look at him. The tonic is coursing through his veins.
Ow.
This is like licking butter off a
Normally, I don't fight him. Who the hell do you think you are?
There it is, skeptics and dissenters, irrefutable proof.
Is it?
Do not let this opportunity pass you by.
Look, he's over there. Go get him.
Watch out.
Ooh, you're gonna die.
Who the hell do you think you are? You ain't leaving here alive.
Marvelous shot, dear boy. The kind of deadly accuracy that can only be afforded by the West.
I'm just good at things. Is it so hard to imagine that I'm just good at things without your fucking condom oil that I keep slurping up?
Hey, where are you going? No harm in trying one bottle, I suppose.
Fucking hell.
Well, I think that went kind of well, don't you?
I'm just glad that my normal job...
Snake oil would be an awesome name for a lubricant.
Not the
Dude, you want to go in on a business with me?
Be like that.
when I'm rich and famous enough to be doing random shit, like fucking Mr. Beast themed jerky, let's make a lube, you and I, and let's call it snake oil, if that's not already taken.
Now, if you'll excuse me, I'd like to say my goodbyes.
I don't know that it
All that's
improved my
great.
dead eye.
Wait, sir. I've been thinking about your predicament, and I think I may have an idea. I've been thinking I could be
Ah.
your coming Odysseus. Beware of the Greeks bearing gifts, sir. Williamson had better beware. We will make them into Trojans.
I don't rightly get you.
Go and see my old friend Seth. He can come across as a little curious, but I'm sure you two will get on. He's most often found at Coots Chapel. He's very devout.
Why
Mhm.
see him?
Because between him and me, we can get those gates to open for you, and you can walk right in, just like in Homer's great Trojan yarn.
Brother, I am sick of you. Because I bet I can keep doing that Deadeye thing even without the elixir, right? I bet it unlocked this moment. But it is not tied to it. Fuck is that? Oh, can I just sleep in your...
Hello there.
Hi. Oh, rent. Yep. $5 to sleep in your fucking hay bale? Out of your fucking mind. $5 to sleep in your fucking hay bale? That shit's free! That shit's always been free. Hey, can I sleep with the horses? Sure. Fucking feed them first. That's the price. You gotta chore a little bit. $5. Fuck you. Lather up your one-eyed snake with a snake oil lubricants. Use code fork tongue. Jesus Christ. Knife.
Like an angel from above.
What the fuck? Hey.
Hello. Hello there.
Hi.
Howdy, miss. What are you doing out here?
I'm thinking.
You don't look so great.
Have I seen you before?
Oh, yes, I think so. On the train from Blackwater, perhaps.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's me.
Yeah, you were talking with the preacher.
Oh yeah.
It was.
Wait, I wanted to talk to you. Fuck that guy.
It's so safe out here, miss.
Oh, Jenny. You can call me
Jenny.
Jenny. All right. I'm safe because I have faith.
Okay, Donald's gotta. We've gotta. Druid, I don't mean to talk business while pleasuring ourselves, but we gotta include Undoubtable in this fucking lube business. That man's coming up with the best catchphrases.
Mountains. That's the whole point.
You're trying to move a mountain?
Oh, no, I can't do anything. But with faith, I can achieve great things. I know that.
Yeah, but not. It doesn't.
Take you back into town, ma'am? You seem kind of unwell.
Oh, I get such clarity out here. I see things purely. The world is so beautiful.
Yeah, yeah, it
Full
is.
of things that'll kill you, including illness.
Nothing's gonna kill me, sir.
Okay.
Well, take care then.
Girl. Do I have medicine? I hope I have some.
Miss Jenny. Miss Jenny. Don't look like the Almighty's much inclined to help you out here. I was kind of worried about you, so I brought you some medicine.
Oh heavens! Oh praise you, Lord! I knew you'd save me.
Yeah.
You see, it was only through His will that you were ordered to save me. Tell me, were there angels in your vision?
Nope, just you dying. Kind of pictured you
Back into town?
getting eaten by a coyote.
Savior, I knew you'd save me.
I'm trying hard not to roll
Will you
my
come
eyes
with
at the faithful.
I'm fine here, mister. I'm in heaven. Heaven.
Okay. Jenny, I hope you don't die out here. Genuinely. Oh, graveyard. You will never dance with another? Guilty feet? Ain't got no rhythm? Hold on. Nope. I evaporated him. I evaporated him too! What the fuck? Oh, there you are. Snake Oil Lube series with popular additions as Druid's Fluid and Pleasant's Present? Fuck, we gotta get Captain in on this too. Shit, shit! The company's growing too large. Dissolve it. Sell the assets. Take my royalties whenever you make it big using those. Fuck. We're not gonna make it. What? Okay. I think I accidentally killed him. You were kinda in the way, gamer. Ah! My bad. Never gonna dance again. Guilty feet have got no rhythm. So easy to pretend. No, we're not a fool. Should've known better than to cheat a friend. Faces that I've been given. So I'm never gonna dance again the way I dance with you. You thought the clip command would be up and running, you silly fool. I don't think I've even re-downloaded Mix It Up. That shit's gone. Music sings so loud. Wish we could lose this crowd. Maybe it's better. Damn. Why does it work like that now? Whatever. If I do that, is it gonna stop going away? Okay, fine. But now I don't know the words, because I don't know Careless Whisper that well. Unfortunately. I really should. Defeat have got no rhythm. It's easy to pretend. I know you're not a fool. Should've known better than to cheat a friend. It's this chance that I've been given. No song is perfect unless it has a brass instrument in it, and I've always said that. Is it just me, or does John Marston walk like or run like a fucking crazy person, like a fucking Muppet? Look at his arms. That's such a cute emote. I keep looking over and it's just the cutest fucking emote. I'd better be following whoever that is. I'm not, and they're live. Okay. A small break. You have the cutest dance of all time. Cool. Now that that message has been delivered. And we've listened to Careless Whisper. And I can't get rid of the thing, because I fucking... There. Confident I could sing the entire thing if I managed not to choke on my own existence. And that is the struggle. New weaponry is available. I love guns. Yeehaw! What the fuck? What the hell? Who's saying that? It was kind of for me.
Time to think about a different line of business.
Just my luck. Ain't nobody gonna help.
Everyone's freaking out.
Is that so? Hold that thought until next time. I have pressing business.
Since you're here, you want to make yourself useful?
Not particularly.
Listen, son, I know you got a mission, but right now I need another gun.
Why? What's happening?
We've had this problem for months with this group of bandits who are getting drunk and murdering settlers. Last night they went to a big place up near Ridgewood.
They burnt the place down, killed the men, burning most of them alive, and raped the women. Women folk then got their throats slit. One of them survived and walked in here this morning.
Anyway.
Jesus Christ.
Gathering up near Ridgewood. Will you
Okay. Yeah, fuck yeah.
All right.
Sounds like fun people to murder.
It's gonna be a bloody job.
That's what I hope for.
I don't think I know any other kinds, sir.
Hi, Saris.
Hey, wait up!
Don't know why we needed to add that to the cutscene. Sir, do you get cross-eyed on purpose when you drink? Oh, shit. He was standing right in front. How? That's hardly my fault. The road clear? Can I look both ways? Fuck Fucking hell. You know what? Sometimes you just get kicked in the head by a horse. That's part of the fucking that's part of living it here in this time period. How is? I'm doing okay. A little overwhelmed lately, but I'm very happy to be streaming.
I did. For a man who claims to have found a remedy to all ailments, he was in pretty bad shape.
His tonic has helped a great many people. It's a medical breakthrough from the East, the result of years of research.
Yeah, I remember him saying that.
Of his diarrhea of the mouth.
I wouldn't be so dismissive of science if I were you. Times is changing fast. Hey, Marshall, see those vultures?
I see him. Marston, you and Eli go check it out.
Okie dokie.
Come on.
Ain't no survivors here, Marshall.
Woof.
Man, this don't look too good.
Somebody was so busy killing people, they went and dropped their gun.
Oh. Lucky me. So, what's the difference? I wish I could...
Faster!
Appreciate that you can't
We'll head for Ridgewood Farm.
make your horse go
See if you know
faster
anything.
when you're pointing your gun. You know, that makes sense, I think.
A bunch of weak men. A pack of cowards is the most dangerous kind.
Very true.
Some men are just born plain evil.
Less
I
true.
think it's this land that makes them men. As much as the other way around. Men are born, and then they're formed. At least that's how I see it.
Yeah. Yeah. The whole nature versus nurture thing.
Look, Marshall, more vultures.
We best take a look, boys.
Faster!
Ah! Does Nixie keep activating sticky keys, or did she turn hers off? Because that's probably smart. What, Red Dead Redemption? Well,
Man,
we haven't gotten to the redemption part yet, but I sure am Red and Deading.
those scumbags must still be around.
Come on.
That horse is fast as fuck. I think I got it as a bonus thing, which I don't always fuck with, but
Too far.
Sons
I
of
don't know.
bitches.
Didn't you once run a gang of outlaws, Marston?
Yeah, but not like that. It wasn't our way. At least it wasn't my way.
Killing and thieving's never right, boy. No matter how you dress it up.
Unless it's ordered by a court of law, you mean?
ah,
Place looks deserted. Where is everyone? Let's search the area.
I forget how to make your horse slow down. There's a way to do it.
Let's go! Shed's clear, Marshal.
Oh, I was just here. Uh-oh. There you are.
No one here.
Let's go! Jesus Christ is throwing it back!
There's no good reason for that to be boarded up. Break that door down. The rest of you, get your guns ready.
How do I... Oh, shoot the... Seems like there's probably more efficient ways. Hey, dude. Walk right in the way, why don't you? Fucking asshole. Oh! That dude looks super naked. I feel like I'm about to be banned. Let's just make sure his cock isn't gonna fly out. Sorry. Hold on. I'll describe it. I'll describe everything in excruciating detail. Don't worry. Don't worry. Don't worry. I got you. It's bad. Holy sweet mother of mercy, there's a lady. Please don't shoot me. She was taken hostage. They're holed up in the farmhouse. Her family's getting kept hostage. He's pulling his cock out. Okay. Fuck it. They heard hostages and immediately opened fire. Ah!
Ain't you a pretty little thing? I'm gonna... Yeah, keep your head down.
Thank you.
Ah! I can't fucking get down this hallway. Sorry.
Back. Make a run for it when it's clear.
Thank you. They said they were gonna kill us all.
Yeah, I'll bet.
Look like that's all of them. Let's see how the hostages are doing.
They seem mostly intact, or at least mine are. I don't know what you guys were doing downstairs. "10 out of 10 moist impression? Thank you, thank you. I pride myself on being pretty good at being moist. If anyone needs any private lessons on how to get moist, feel free to hit me up. Okay. Yippee, yippee, yippee! Ah! What the fuck? That's why you were fucking abusing me earlier. Helda, thank you for shouting out Emery. Emery, what were you fucking doing? Bloodborne. The spin to win challenge is over and he goes right back into the fucking fray. How was it? What were you up to? Were you doing a challenge thing or were you just playing for fun or what's up?
Some folk tried escaping to the south, but then some robbers started chasing him down like wild dogs. I thought you were supposed to protect us, Marshal. You folk ain't men. You ain't nothing. You're just some man on a government payroll taking money that the rest of us have to pay for with our lives. Yeah. What is wrong with this country?
Not up, men. The man that kills the boss of that bunch gets $50.
It ain't about the money, Marshal. These are people's lives.
What do you want me to do about it? I'm not a necromancer.
Come on, they're gonna get away.
You can't kill people before they commit a crime. We don't have the fucking future sight thing. What was the fucking future sight thing? Baldur's Gate 3 collab, then practicing the parry loop for Orphan of Cause? Ooh. What are you up to in Baldur's Gate? What do you play? What's your class?
Let's just say he's
Also, you do not have to suffer my endless questions. Guys, if you're not following Emery, you're a fool. Emery is deeply silly and has some of the best redeems I've seen on this fucking website. I mean, who else are you gonna fiddle the bean of? That's the real question. Still need to buy Baldur's Gate? It's a fun game.
some people I have the displeasure of knowing want him dead. Why does that involve you? We used to run in a gang together. It was once like family.
If this is how you treat your family, I'd hate to see what you do to your enemies.
That was a lifetime ago. The
bearing in mind, he's left me for dead the last 2 times I've seen him. I'm about figuring we've moved past the family part.
Half-elf sorcerer. Level 5 today, so I've been fireballing. Let's fucking go.
That somebody on the cliff?
I love throwing my balls about as a sorcerer.
Just walk away now, John. I didn't kill you before, but I sure as shit will now.
Is that Micah?
Get yourself down.
Oh no,
here,
that's Bill.
You know you ain't man enough to stop me. You know I don't want to kill you, but I will.
You always did have a high opinion of yourself, John.
Yeah.
Dutch always said you were an arrogant son of a bitch. I guess he was about right.
That's my dad. That's my shithead dad.
Everybody, take cover.
Take cover behind my horse? that motherfucker was expensive. Nothing quite as scary as I cast Fireball, then quicken spell to cast Fireball. That's what I'm saying.
Keep together and stay in here. This is the best cover we got.
That one almost got me.
Let's make these
Oh my god.
pay for what they did
It keeps not firing. I think I'm bad at things.
Who's next? Tell Bill he's a dead man.
coward. Damn you. Look out! Here comes some more of them bastards. Look out!
Ah!
Coming at us from all sides. Goddamn rapist!
Just run off home. I ain't never lost a fight. I'll kill every last one of you.
Woo!
Another honest day's work.
Oh no!
Hey, look what I got here. There's something that you're still breathing.
Oh, is that the guy?
Come on, Bessie, give. Oh.
Norman Deek. Nice to see you again, buddy. Thanks for your help, John. Norman here is going to help us get to Bill. Ain't you, Norman?
Thank you, Mr. Dick. Mighty kind.
I didn't notice the ad coming. Emery, if you gotta flee, I love you. I appreciate you. I'm really grateful you chose to raid me. I hope you have a good night.
Fuck you!
Hog time. Let's get him to jail.
I didn't ask the dimensions of the room. I said I cast Fireball. Words to make your DM insane. Okay, let's go loot 1,000 bodies really quick. Huh. I streamed for almost 8 hours, so I'm gonna get some ass. Hell yeah. After stream self-care. That makes sense too. Enjoy Cowboys on Parade, the game. And I will. And I will, Emery. And I appreciate you. Emery, I'm coming for your bean next we meet. Just you fucking wait. My DM hates me because I killed 5 people over a block of tungsten that tastes like words? None of those words made sense in conjunction, but it did make me make a mental note not to DM for you. One bean equals one respect? Holy shit. I ain't never been respected before. Whoa, a train! Hey, what are you doing? Pretty good. Why?
I bet you can't beat Ira Shelton in shooting. I'll bet you money.
Sure, how much?
How can I refuse a challenge like that? See? That's how you do it.
Ain't that something? All right, here's your winning.
Whoa! I just got a Steam notification that my father is playing Baldur's Gate. Clap, 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 get respected. Jesus Christ, Jesus Christ. That's a lot. That's just a lot. That's... Respect, what's that taste like? Well, the last time I tried comparing it to taste, I, you know, somehow turned that into a blowjob joke. I don't know how, but somebody, I'm sure, can manage. It tastes salty? I mean, that works either way. Whoa, what the fuck are you? Is that a horse? That is a horse. No, that's a deer. A deer and a horse. Isn't that kind of cute? Woo! I see. Okay, so it was a bit of a jump. I thought it was a hurt yourself real bad jump, not a fucking die. Whatever. Is it 6 p.m.? Can I go talk to Bonnie? Yippee!
Well, hello, Mr. Marston. How are you?
Fine, thank you. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Did you meet my father? John Marston, this is my father, Drew McFarland.
Hey!
Pleasure to meet you, Mr. Marston. Please. So, my daughter informs me that you're here on some secret mission to remove some undesirables from the county.
Something like that.
That's close enough.
I'm grateful for the hospitality, sir.
You know, we've lived here for 30 years now. Came here from the east. The land had never been settled.
It had.
10 years we fought the Indians. Tough men.
That was the settlers.
And we had outlaws, and we had drought, and we had smallpox, terrible winters, cholera.
Yeah.
I buried more of my children than I raised.
Sorry to hear that, sir.
It's tough.
I've seen strong men wither and die under that unforgiving sun.
Yeah.
That whole herds of cattle take sick and die. But I've never once doubted my life here.
That's good.
No, sir.
When I hear about this so-called federal government sending out agents to covertly murder and control people, then I start to worry.
Yeah.
I mean, all right, Williamson is a menace, and men like him are the plague. But isn't a government agent a worse menace? And all that symbolizes, I mean.
You may be right, sir.
Well, you're a brave man. You're always gonna be welcome here.
Thank you.
But you tell your friends out east that we don't want to live like that out here.
They're not my
Sneaking
friends.
around and spying and secret
They're
missions.
not gonna listen to me. But I will voice your concerns.
Trust me, sir. I agree with you.
Good. Good. Well, we won't insult you any further. Come on, Bonnie, we got things to do.
Mr. Marston, do you want to join us? It's Daddy's favorite pastime. Apart from political discourse, that is.
Breaking in horses. Come on. I hear you're a pretty decent rider. For a city dweller, that is.
I forgot I left another tab on. Sorry, I was like, why the fuck is there music?
You're gonna need this, Mr. Marston.
You never know when you're gonna need a rope. You just know you fucking need it.
Let's see if we can put that new lasso of yours to good use. That ranch hand said there's a pack of wild horses nearby.
Cool.
Look like you're having a good morning, sir.
Thanks. I am. You too. Fuck, I fucked up that QTE.
You sure have some interesting theories on what the government's doing, sir.
They ain't theories, Mr. Marston. I saw the telegram Marshall got from Blackwater. It ain't exactly a state secret that sent you.
Well, is he wrong? I saw those men from the train.
The government can go to hell if you ask me. Those sons of bitches would steal a coin off a dead man's eyes.
Mr. Marston!
He's right. Now, I don't know much about politics,
Sure do like to talk about it.
but I know we're only as free as they say we are. Power's like a drink. The more you have, the more you want. There's few men who can handle it.
There's certain things in this country a woman could do much better if you ask me.
I ain't gonna argue with that, Miss McFarland.
This is a weird mission. And it would be more fun for me if I could genuinely get into a romance story. It's like, ha, you have to meet her dad and he's kind of shitty with you because of who you work for, which is just brilliant.
You gonna use that rope or not?
Yeah, I'm just trying to pick one I like.
Don't let him fuck you, Mr. Marston. Lean into it.
Ah!
Down!
Ah!
That's it.
Let's see it, boy.
Don't give up!
Relax now.
Take it slow now. Show me what you got, boy.
Ah!
Come on.
Nearly there.
This is kind of cool. Though the animations are something. They are.
God damn it. Almost got you.
Woo! Yippee!
Done, boy.
Thanks. Oh, mount my own horse?
Marston, you leave this one to me.
Oh.
I think that's enough activity for an old-timer like me. I'll take this one back to the ranch. See you later.
Come on.
Come on then! Let's see if you can get another one!
Okay. I caught your dad a horse.
We haven't got all day! Easy now! What are you waiting for?
I'm trying to get the one I want. No, that's not the one I want.
Faster.
Come on! Rope one of them!
Listen here.
You got this!
Relax. Come on, baby. Calm down. down. Nearly there. You're mine now. There. That was.
Yippee!
Look at that! You're a natural!
Well, I do my best. Ah!
Nice work!
Fucking
I
hell.
think that'll do it for today. Let's
They
get
keep,
back to the
they keep
ranch.
taking our horses.
Let's go.
Hey, Undoubtable, die. How about that?
I like your father.
How about I try and explode you with my mind?
Character.
You have a good life here. The life I want. For me and my family, I mean.
And do not make a bust joke.
Good enough. It's one that gets so many folks in trouble.
It'll sap your spirit and make you poor, but it's straight and it's decent.
There's no better night's sleep than after an honest day's work.
It's no wonder you look so tired then.
Some deck must be shy of Joker, Miss McFarland.
Well done, Mr. Marston. These are fine horses.
Hey, Bonnie. Amos was saying some horses been spotted somewhere outside of Armadillo.
Let's go, Mr. Marston. We can really do with those horses.
Okay. Some deck is shy, it's Joker.
Come on, Mr. Marston. Let's
That's
head
so
for
cute.
Armadillo.
You never did tell me why you were never married. Aside from the snobbery, that is.
You sure ask a lot.
I'm just surprised, that's all. You must have been quite a catch.
The fact that you're talking in the past says it all.
No, that's not what I mean. You must have had some suitors, that's all I'm saying.
Some, I suppose. Here and there. A ranch in the middle of Hennigan's Stead ain't really the place to find a husband. Amos, he's a little, well, you know, countrified.
Where'd you get your airs and graces, Miss McFarland?
From a couple of cheap governesses Paul hired to save us from being savages. I'd like to talk about more than just cattle and chickens sometimes, that's all. And after my brother left, it was up to me to become the man of the ranch. He never admitted, but my pa's a lot frailer than he looks.
You're worth two of any man I know, miss.
I'll try to take that as a compliment.
They're so cute together, the
Anyway,
bastards.
My wife is kind of like you, Miss McFarland.
Is that so?
She's always been a woman in a man's world.
You don't talk about it very much.
Hi, Rue.
It's kind of painful, but she's never far from my thoughts.
Looks like the ranch
Ah,
has
blow
nothing ahead.
joke. That makes more sense. Become pretty? Hey now. I'm always pretty.
Let's drive them up the canyon where it narrows. We'll trap them there.
But I can show you me nice and pink if you like. I'm trying to wink. I don't know if it's capturing.
Stay with the horses. I'll give you a signal when we're ready for them.
I'll see you there, miss. Come on.
Go on, join your friends. It's always one.
Whoa.
Ah! Whoops. Dude, can you... They're fucking off!
Whoa there.
Can you stop getting stuck on rocks?
Come on, come on.
Poor favor. Woo! We're kind of missing some of the whatever.
Let's go.
Wait, Undy, what was the free shit they gave you in Mafia? The Oh, fuck. The running in this game leaves much to be desired. And that might be user error. Every time I try and speed up my horse, it's like a crapshoot whether it actually does it or not. Pissing me off. Because it's just clicking shift again, I believe. My favorite guns were both not in the base game. I see. See, that's what I like about the game Helta was having me play, Prey. Because you can get the shotgun early. This is gonna piss me right off. Ooh. See, look, I'm moving slow as fuck now, all of a sudden. For why? Oh, I guess I have to just stay within a certain distance, but like, it really feels like I can't keep up speed. And I don't know why. Am I supposed to keep clicking shift? I thought you could hold it. Okay. Come on, go. Stop. Calm down. Perfect.
Come on.
Don't get jealous. I'm just taking it back to Bonnie.
Thanks for your help today, Mr. Marston.
Oh no! Ruin's still broken. Don't look at me. Don't look at my shame. I had to reinstall Windows on my computer. I restarted everything. Not everything is back up. The lamp trap is not back up. But I'll refund you. I definitely know how to do that. What the fuck? There you are. I'm a kind and benevolent soul.
Fine horses. You know, why don't you keep that stallion as your own, as a thank you from all of us?
Thank you, ma'am. He's a fine animal.
Let's go! Broken the Kentucky Saddler, a rare and agile horse. I see. What'd I name you, Kentucky? Huh?
Faster!
I'm thinking an M name. Moth. Yes, darling Rue. Where's my lamp? She doesn't listen to me. She never listens to me. It's broken. It's a little broken because I had to reinstall everything on my computer. But it's getting mended. It's on the list. That and the clip command and other thing. Actually, those two might be it. I might have fixed everything else.
Come on, come on!
Bug throw works intermittently. Pom. You grave robbing?
Excuse me, are you Seth?
Who are you?
I'm a friend of Mr. West Dickens. My name's Marston. John Marston.
Friend's a strong word, John.
Marston. It's been a great pleasure.
I need your help, Seth. We need your help.
Bugs are
Me and
bugged?
Mr. West Dickens.
Let me be frank for 1 second, partner. I hate people. It was people who got me in this mess in the first place.
Well, I mean, it's people who will do most things.
Look at me. Look, scrambling around, looking for maps, half insane. I ain't washed in 6 months. My hair falling out. My mind's going.
Going's a strong word for gone.
What happened? My partner. He stole half my map. I never would have done that to him. Never. Look at me.
Who did this to you?
My partner. My boy, my man. Moses Forbes. I don't have the facility to tell you what I would have done for that man. And what I would do to him now.
Why?
Because he stole half my goddamn map.
And what map's that then?
The map, partner. The map that tells me where it is.
The map! The map!
Where what is, friend?
I ain't telling you that. I ain't. Don't make me tell, partner. It's mine! It's mine! All mine!
Sure.
Sure, man.
And where's this Moses now?
He's at Benedict Point. The law got him for exhuming. Some people, they feel differently. Not Moses. Him and me are the same. The self-same.
Mm-hmm.
Well, come on, Seth. Let's go see Moses, get you your map back. Then maybe you'll help me.
All right, partner.
He's a little freak, and I kind of like him. He's kind of growing on me. Game I return to when I feel down?
Partner.
Would you recommend it? Should I play 1 and 2? Just you, huh?
Faster!
Let's go!
I don't know how to switch which horse I'm currently whistling for.
How can you sink that low? Digging up graves and looting from the dead.
Ah, hypocrite. The whole damn lot of you. Are you saying it's better to steal from the living? They're corpses. They don't care none.
These people have been laid to rest.
You don't know nothing. I talk to them long after they've been forgotten by every other fella. I tell them it's all right to be scared and alone. I embrace them when they're stinking and rotten.
I met some sick bastards in my time, Seth. But you're special.
Folk is cold and heartless all their lives. To me, they gets warmer when they're actually cold and heartless. Surely that makes sense to even you.
Not exactly, it don't.
Are we really living anyway? Do you exist outside my mind? Maybe we're both having the same dream, and when we wake up, we'll die.
I certainly seem to be in some kind of nightmare.
I kind of fuck with Seth a lot.
Have you looked in the cave, Seth?
It's very dark.
What'd you say?
I didn't say nothing.
I just heard you say something.
You're a crazy man. You should get that head looked at.
The
Seth,
gaslighting is
I need
real.
Someone who can get a wagon inside Fort Mercer. I was told you could help me, but I'm not sure you even know what day it is.
I don't. I can't even tell you what year it is.
I knew this was a waste of time.
So, you want to go after Bill Williamson, do you?
You know Bill?
Oh, yes. I met Williamson and Deacon, all them boys. Sometimes they call me on when they get some special job needs doing. I got a reputation as a man who do things most other fellas want.
Now, that I can believe.
I reckon you can get in there, no bother. Assuming you help me find this bat that is.
Yeah! You're a strange man, Seth. You're kind of weirdly fuckable. I think that says something about me.
Nothing much. Just unimaginable riches and such like. A spark of hope that lit a raging fire I can't put out.
I thought as much. Another treasure hunter losing everything in the search for nothing.
Oh, I lost it all, partner. My wife, my children, my business. Good riddance to them all. I don't eat, I don't sleep, I don't wash, and I don't care.
I know. I can smell you from here.
It used to be about the money, but now, I don't know who I am no more. I see myself, but it's like I'm looking at somebody else. Only it's me, you know?
Maybe it's time you moved on.
No way I can stop now. It's taking me over. There's no difference between night and day, just darkness. I want to see the sunshine again.
Jesus, man.
All right, this is it. Let's stop here a moment and come up with a plan.
It's possible to play Mafia 3 on its own and appreciate it. I do recommend playing all the games if you want to appreciate the story better. I will add it to my list.
Can you distract him so I can sneak in for a quick parlay with that son of a bitch?
I'm sure I can think of something.
Lead them away from the shack and out of sight. Somewhere out past that hill.
Alright, Schmeagle.
This is one god-awful assignment.
Don't you lay a finger on them horses, mister.
Okay.
Hey, what the hell are you doing?
Ah!
Hey, good!
Dude, run! Fuck!
Come on! Yeah!
Woo! Ow! Fucking hell! Ow! So how do I surrender? Good question. Should make this my full-time model? Yeah, you go ahead and switch your branding to the Awaker, and I will be the magical girl. Ready? Break. Woo! Ah, I was trying. Where's my horse? Ow, ow. Ow. Ah, serpentine, serpentine. There you are.
Come on. Let's go.
Ah! My fault. My taste is wide and varied. I'm a woman of many wants.
Come on, ain't no time to be wasting. Good job getting rid of them clowns. Now keep an eye out in case they come back.
I love passionate Schmeagle.
Moses,
Trying to think of another insane character that everyone loves.
you got a visitor.
Oh my God, Seth. They arrested me. It weren't my fault. Ah! Get the hell away from me!
Get that slippery bastard. I need him alive, though.
Get away from me! This ain't none of your business!
Hey, man.
Don't trust Seth! He's sick in the mind!
Yeah, I know.
Son of a bitch! Who the... Why are you doing this?
I kind of need his help with something
Sell his
stupid.
own mother.
I mean, he's not gonna kill you. You're fine. You want your hat? No? Alright.
Who do you think you are, mister?
Amazing question, actually.
We'll split it between us, just me and you.
Oh, so you do know what he's here for.
You must be stupid trusting that crazy bastard.
You don't really know what I'm trusting him for.
Seth lost his mind a long time ago.
I do believe that.
Just name your price.
I assume you can't pay my price unless your imaginary treasure is
Just wait till I
real.
get loose, mister.
Uh-huh. Oops. Dropped you.
What's he paying you? I'll give you double.
Damn, no fear.
Whatever he told you.
It's mine now. You hear me, Moses? Mine. Mine. Moses, you son of a bitch! Where's my damn map?
Damn you, Seth! Damn you, Seth! You've always been a twisty little freak. I ain't telling you shit. Ah!
Then I'm gonna cut you up piece by piece. Till you find your tongue.
Friend, this man's gone crazy in the sun. I suggest you take my advice and start talking.
Shut up, Marston! I want to cut into a bona fide man's flesh. Ain't never cut into a live one before.
Odd Fellows Rest. It's in Odd Fellows Rest. Get away from me once and for all.
Well, ain't that a damn shame? I was starting to enjoy myself.
think you gone pissed yourself, Moses? Those deputies went and put a bounty on your head.
Yeah, I'll bet.
Let's be clear now. Don't need the law on our backs. I don't have no money, but I got me a pardon letter.
Oh.
Here, take it. You earned it for helping me with the Moses.
You're teaching me the game.
Come on.
Can I just get these?
Telegraph office.
Anywhere?
Hurry
Ah.
up. I need to go find that map.
Howdy.
Hello.
Hi.
The body was found near Gat.
This is to clear my name.
Master.
I'm gonna keep the letter,
And you can clear it up the desk.
I'll see you soon.
just in case I get a higher one later.
So, Mr.
Yeah.
Thanks for your help.
Don't worry yourself with thanks, Seth. Just help me when I come asking.
No problem, mister.
Yeah! Alright. Oh, a question mark. Excuse me, Pole. Nope, I'm good. Thanks, though.
Mace. Wonderful. Marvelous.
Hi.
My, take
Ooh.
Will you take a look at you?
I look pretty good.
You look like you've seen trouble, mister. Enough for
Oh,
a
sure.
man.
Yeah, I thought you were just calling me hot.
There's a way of finding me, mister.
Do I like the sound of that? Do I ever like the sound
Ooh,
of that?
you have my attention again?
Capital T. That's just capital.
Whatever you say.
You're losing my interest again.
Tough, but with a heart of gold. The cowboy sings his
You've
lonely
lost it.
song like a dog whose bone is made of wood.
My posture is mid, Max Argus, VT. But thank you for checking it.
Nothing. I was just writing my next piece. I've been sent out here to provide a little frontier joie de vivre for the ladies. back
Joie de
in the
vivre. Ah,
I don't understand.
for the
a word
ladies.
you're
Damn
saying,
it,
mister.
you've lost me again.
My mom felt the same way. And now she wrote me out of her will, and there's no hope for any of us. Jimmy Saint.
That's
At
hysterical.
your disposal. But
Never
please
mind, I'm
don't
in love with you
dispose
again.
of me just yet.
Yeah?
What are you doing out here, Jimmy?
Capturing the spirit of the West for a monthly back east.
I see.
Yeah, I'm sending them my oh-so-witty and oh-so-pertinent missives and gaining myself a little prize in the bargain. So it's action I'm after, and action I'm gonna find, too. Wild men, cheap women, guns, that sort of thing.
Well, you have fun.
Fun? I'm gonna have the time of my life, sport. I tell you, mister, the time of my little old life.
Okay, man. Hi. What a fucking weirdo. No. I have a horse. Somewhere. Hello, Betty.
Come on, come on.
No, I don't like Betty. You need a name. A good name. A good warhorse name. That's a big-ass bird. No Skyrim scaling of mountains for me? Well, I suppose that's fair. Beatrix? Beatrice. Both bangers. Uh-oh. Hey. Hey, Beatrice. You've kind of fucked us, haven't you? Like it never happened. Oh, I guess I'll do the Bonnie quest. Why not? She's right here. Who the fuck put this pole in my way? Help! People are really scared of gunshots.
Come on, let's go!
Beatrice is fine.
Hey, miss. I got most of the horses secure and the chickens.
Well, thank you, Amos, but it's the herd I'm worried about.
I know, they're scattered all over the valley and beyond. The weather is coming in real fast.
So what do you suggest, Amos? We leave the herd out there to be scattered by the storm and ourselves left here to die without a livelihood?
Can I help?
No, miss. If the men get caught out in that storm, they're gonna die.
And if we lose our herd, we'll all die, you stupid man.
Doesn't sound like we're left with much of a choice then. Come on, Amos. Round up the men. Let's get the herd.
Dang.
My job literally was just, hey, listen to the lady. We're doing it now.
That sky don't look good. I'm starting to think somebody up there's conspiring against me. Are you a religious man?
Not in any real sense. Sometimes I tell myself things happen for a reason. Like what brought me here was fate come a-calling. But nobody made my path for me.
We all need to look for answers somewhere. Some in big old books, others in big old bottles of whiskey.
Believing in some kind of divine purpose ain't gonna give me my wife and kid back. Past is who we are, Miss McFarland. There ain't no changing that. Faith is a luxury I can't afford.
We have two herds out grazing in different pastures. We'll need to merge them and bring them all back.
I think we can handle that.
If
Yeah.
cows get real ornery in bad weather, it's more work. But I'll show you how to deal with them. We're not going to be able to hear each other in this rain. Just make sure you don't lose sight of me.
Easy. Something I like doing anyway. Was that flirting? Did that count? I don't think she heard me. Where are we trying to merge them to?
Let's take them over to the other herd. We'll try to drive them all back to the ranch together.
Okay, that way. Got it.
Whoa there.
For a while. We need to be quick.
I'm doing my best. Ah. Hey. Hey, asshole. Come on. Scram. Oh, it will just return to the herd just from me, like, walking near it. Like a fucking homing missile. The missile knows where it is because there's a whole bunch of other missiles there. Hey, you asshole. I see you. Scram. I believe this is what she meant by ornery. Come on. You guys are moving a little far, actually. Why don't you go that way? I'm trying to fucking lead them. They're.
I can't do this by myself.
We're here. I'm literally right here.
Where are you going? You're gonna get lost in this rain.
You are pimming me off, madam. How sassy Amos was when he threw his hands into the air. No, you're right.
There's Spook. We have to stop the stampede.
Whatever his main was, marvelous is what it fucking was. Did you see that? Ah! Okay. Let's not. Hey guys, let's not do any of this.
Come on!
Hey, quit that. Jesus Christ.
Come on! Come on!
Good work.
Thanks.
Let's round up those stragglers and get out of here.
I'm trying, man. I'm getting the fucking stray. Ooh. Where's 21? Is it this guy? He doesn't count until he gets with him? Okay.
This weather ain't showing any signs of letting up. I can't see 2 feet in front of me.
Hey. Dude. Get. This is kind of fun. I like the ranching part of the game a lot. Come on, you can figure it out. Dude. Oh my god. Well, at least I turned them blue. Look at them! I'm looking for the Twilight Princess sound that happened when you led the fucking horse to the right spot. There was ranching in that game too. God damn it, I am a horse girl, aren't I?
Save the herd back there. You might make a decent rancher one day.
Thank you, Miss McFarland.
Yeah.
High praise from someone who just almost lost their whole fucking livelihood.
Excuse me, Mr. Marston. Have you seen my father anywhere?
No.
He went out this morning to ride the land and was supposed to be back hours ago. I don't know. The
I like how
ranch
flippy
went
my
out
hair
looking,
is
but
in this
so far they
model.
found nothing.
It's very cute. Oh, maybe I need a long hair model.
Let's head out. He couldn't have gotten far.
Evening.
I've got a bad feeling about this. It's not like him to be away for so long.
Don't worry. We'll find him.
He's not as young as he used to be. What if he's hurt himself?
Your father can still handle himself just fine, Miss McFarland. He's built like an oak.
You're probably right, but I can't help worrying. He's all I've got.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Happy to help get you some relief. Ah! What are you staring at?
6 brothers, but 5 of them died.
Moth Maid?
either from
When?
sickness or foolish choices.
And And the other one?
He left for the east and never came
You're
back.
out of your mind.
Must be getting on for 10 years ago now. He's a high and mighty banker in New York, according to his last letter.
He should be here, helping you and your pa.
I don't want his help. He can live his life any way
You
he
should at
wants.
least be sending
When I
back
see
some
those
stuff.
city fellers coming in on the railway, all dressed up like a sore toe, I fear a little for his soul. He switched his saddle for a tie, and that's fine. I just never met a man in a tie I could trust.
Okay. Kind of a weird rule.
I think I see someone. Come on, boy. Giddy up.
Yeah, good eyes. Fuck, I don't see anyone. Ah!
Nothing nice. Rustlers, I guess. Maybe the Baller twins, that bunch. And you head back to the ranch right now. Fetch the wagon.
Yes, sir.
Marston, you watch after her.
I'll do that, sir. Yeah.
I thought rustlers were just
What could have happened to those poor men? And their horses were dead too.
ranchers.
Get back there
I thought
as soon
rustlers
as we
was slang
can.
for ranchers. Can someone look up what rustlers is slang
Boss
for?
seemed to have an idea who it was. Let's just do what he says and get the wagon.
Those damn rustlers. I've got a good mind to head over to Pike's Basin myself.
I don't think that's a good idea.
And you're no better. How many men have you killed?
Do you really want to know?
It's disgusting.
You never met the men I killed.
I heard the way you talk about that gang you were in. Like there was some twisted morality to what you did.
We all have a code. Only some of us don't
The
realize.
outlaw with the code? How wonderfully romantic. The reluctant murderer, the noble criminal. There's nothing more depressing than a man who's found a way to think the bad into good.
Ooh.
You're upset.
Look, Mr. Marston, the barn is on fire.
Jesus.
Come on.
That's extremely bad.
Put it
One
down.
move, and you're a dead man. Get a move on. Help me, will you? Put it on.
We can't get through the doors. It's too dangerous. We have to find another way to get in there.
Okay.
It's getting worse. Más agua.
Come on.
Los caballos.
Ah, shit. Platforming in my cowboy game? It's more likely than you think. Ow. Fuck.
Somebody get them horses.
She has an excellent point. Kind of reminds me of a cat. Okay, walk careful. Don't be in so much a hurry that you fucking fall to your death. Whew. Ah! God, I fucking have no idea how to do that. Oh, there was a ladder right there. There was a ladder right in front of me. Well, then it probably should have punished me for walking through this fire. Oh, it's gonna this time. I don't know how to roll. I don't remember how to roll. Youch. Ah, girl, get down. Why did you have that in front of it? Oh.
Well done. Now let's save the horses.
Yeah, I'm gonna die of smoke inhalation. How about other people save the horses? Girl. You were barely in there a second.
Some horse.
Hey, scram.
Get it moving. Jump it.
Come on, come on.
Jesus Christ. I don't think there's any putting that out. I mean, fuck, it's enormous and filled with hay.
You sure know how to handle yourself. Thanks, Marston.
Yes, John, thanks. Well, you saved the ranch.
If you'll excuse me, I've got chores to attend to.
Chores? Fucking put out the fire, man.
Sincerely, John. Thank you.
Well, did all I could, Miss McFarland. Sorry about all the damage. That gang seems to really want you out of here.
Yeah, well, my father fought Indians.
Rustlers are like livestock thieves. Ah, cattle thieves. I see. I have adult money and owe someone some get back for some gift subs over the weekend. Captain, I gave you the same amount that you gave me. Consider me gotten back. You keep your fucking adult money in your adult pocket before I put my adult hands in there.
John, my family owes you a great debt.
I think you got enough debt. You saved my life. All I ask of you is this. If I get back home and get my farm started back up, you'll sell me some cattle. I prefer doing business with people I know.
Of course, Mr. Marston. It'd be my pleasure.
You'll put your hands in his pockets anyway? Let's be real? Shh! Shut up!
You get some rest.
Dude!
I've got to go see
You're fucking giving away the game! Oh, ad soon. Beware! Beware! Scare! Capitalism! It comes! It ejaculates for us all! I'm gonna go kill those fucking thieves! Ooh, I should probably go to the gunsmith. He keeps advertising to me that there's more shit. Oh! Hey, Beatrice! Sorry. I think there is a gunsmith around here. Maybe just a general store, actually. Ooh, what's this?
Follow Charlie. He's a good one to sniff out trouble. Stay close to Charlie.
Search the area with the dog for any... What the fuck am I even... What? Criminals. Oh. I gotta keep them alive? Well, I guess that is my job. I am a sheriff. I do keep forgetting that. Well, I'm not a sheriff, actually. I'm just a... I don't know. Serving parole.
Bye now. I heard a new settler was herding through Chala and he fell right into Jorge's Gap. Really? That's news to me.
We both gift each other the same amount of subs. The only one winning is Twitch. That's true. Captain, where in the fuck are you getting your Ko-Fi up and running? And, in fairness, it's not the only one winning is Twitch, because you're, like, technically bringing in viewers. And the people get their emotes. I'm a woman of the people. We're purchasing opportunity for other people to find the channel from the $1 Million Corporation. Hey, Beatrice, you needy bitch. Can you... I'm walking the dog. Can you chill? Give me money under the table, baby girl? Well, I do my best. Hey. Dude.
You're gonna shut up now!
Jesus Christ. He shot me twice. And I'm not supposed to shoot him back? Ugh. Where's my eye for an eye when I need it? And I would be nothing without my emotes, my baubles. True. What a good boy you were. Good boy. Alright, girl. You waited patiently. Here's... Oh, I don't have apples. Hold on. Ah! What? Who? Where? Who needs help? Like, use wanted posters to begin hunting a target? Whoa. Cool. Hey, where are they? I didn't see any. Why are you pointing that out to me if there aren't any for me to fucking do so with? Well, I guess it's a good thing to know. Oh, maybe there was some in the store? No? Maybe? Nope. Are you guys closed? Okay. Oh, there's a skull on the map. Oh yeah, the wanted poster would be at the sheriff's office, wouldn't it? Well, foreman, I guess. Whatever. Ballard Twins Gang! Ooh! Bonnie's dad thinks you're the one who... You're the gang that is fucking with us. Awesome.
Hey, come on. That ain't nice, sir.
Sorry. Come on, Beatrice. The dog had my back. The dog would have my back more if he bit the dude's hand, but, you know, beggars, choosers. People with bullet holes in their chest. Woo! Almost died. How do I get down there? Okay. That could have been bad. Is there a quick save? No, I think I have to save at my bunk, don't I? Right? Yeah, no. Okay, well, don't die. Ooh, waterfall. How pretty. Last known location is a very specific way of saying you're not gonna find him here. Oh. Is he worth more alive? Actually can't tell. Can I look at it? No? How do I look at the thingy? Oh, I do have a journal. It's in there. I'm sure there's a shortcut, but like... extra cash is awarded for keeping them alive. I think. I actually don't know. Hey, I didn't actually need you. I just accidentally whistled.
It's just me and you, partner. Don't push me now.
Oh. I guess you weren't a target. My bad.
I'm in a bad place here. Now be quiet. You enjoying yourself, mister?
I ain't no steer here.
All right, let's see.
I did not refill my meds. I am still without insurance. Just don't worry about it. I'll figure it out at some point. But I did eat. Did get food. Food was good. Food was had. Jesus. Jesus. What the fuck? Where the fuck did you go? There you are.
Hellfire!
How are you still alive?
Ain't your life worth living? Forgive me, friend. This is messy.
All right. Now for you.
Your saddle partner.
Been eating well, have you?
You just gonna roll me up like a slow elk.
Now try not to fall off. They surely know where I am. Go.
Oh my god. You fucking killed your boss, you dumbass. Well. Dude.
Rest in peace, my friend.
I tried to take him alive. I was a very noble well, I had noble intents. Not that taking someone in alive over dead is particularly noble or ignoble. I mean, I guess for them. No, yeah, people have opinions about killing people. No, that's fair. It's probably more noble to not kill people in a general sense. Guys, we're kind of done here. I'm not gonna lie. I'm pretty sure you do, man.
Let's go.
Unless that was me screaming that. I can't tell. Woo. Hey guys.
We'll take it from here. Here's your payment.
Take what from here? I brought you someone's ear.
Let's go.
Seth, Marshall, and Nigel West Dickens. Fascinating. I just keep pressing shift, but like I feel like that can't be the way that you're supposed to do it. I don't know. Genuinely, I have no idea. Woo! Almost died again. Hey, are you the same dude?
How good are you with iron?
Really good.
I bet you can't beat Ira Shelton in shooting. I'll bet you money.
How can I refuse a challenge like that?
I see. This is a much worse repeater. Cool. Thanks. I like the idea of fame functioning as levels for a Western themed thing. I feel like you could also do that for a gang. Or you do that. Actually, that's Cyberpunk. I'm thinking of Cyberpunk. Right? Don't they have a renown system? A fame system? Cred. I'm not sure what cred earns you, though. But I wouldn't mind it being experience. Alright, let's go see what the fuck's up with Seth. I bet he doesn't have treasure. I bet a lot. Where's the other one? The lines between idealism we strive for and pragmatism required for survival shows how narrow the path forward is in life. What are we speaking of? I fucks with it, but I just have a... Was that the morality between killing people and not killing people, or street cred and fame and renown? Ah! Seth, you're back in your creepy church. I take it you're not rich beyond belief. Dude.
Seth,
Hey, John. Hey, partner.
get what you need? Ready to help me?
Not quite. Not quite ready. You see, I wasted a bunch of time looking for that last bit of map. And I got to thinking, Moses was a liar. And I imagined myself doing all kinds of unpleasant things to his corpse. And then I realized...
Realized you were sick in the head? That you needed to move on with your own limited time on Earth?
I realized Moses weren't no liar. The issue was Aiden O'Leary, who said he had the body. Aiden died in that flu epidemic, and the bodies weren't even buried yet.
Got the body sitting in the back of that wagon behind you?
Yes, sir.
You're not even gonna wait until they're buried before you...
Well, they don't care, do you, boys? Honest
true.
folk off to a better place. Apart from that Aiden O'Leary fella, I never liked him.
We've got them all the same.
He lay with his sister. I don't like women, partner.
Oh, that's the problem you have with it. Huh.
Not since Mammy died.
Okay. Okay.
What are you gonna do with those bodies?
I'm liking Seth less. Misogyny really takes all the romance out of a crazy person.
I needs the man, partner. I needs it. Let's go! We ain't the only ones with an interest in these here fellers.
The notion of whether or not it's noble to take someone alive and the concept of what is truly noble. Dude, can't you just search them here? I don't really want to cart your corpses all across the fucking map. There you go, a little off-roading.
Keep to the left. We don't want to roll through town with these bodies. We gotta go faster, partner. Where are you? Come on, don't be shy.
What did you say?
I didn't say nothing.
Are you talking to them?
So what if I am? I feel less alone with them than in a crowd of people. The way I see it, they lost their souls, just like me.
You're truly a sick man, Seth.
You remind me of why I hate people. For a man who kills so much, you sure seem to have a problem with the dead. Life kills everyone in the end. They ain't so different from you and me.
Aside from them being dead and rotting, I guess they ain't. All right, Seth. Calm down. You talk to the corpses and I'll drive the wagon.
Oh my! It's them damn treasure hunters! Try and outrun them, partner!
We don't see them bodies first!
Fast as you can, partner! I'll search these bodies as we go! See? We're one big happy family.
Horrifying.
Oh, looky here! I found me a few bullets!
Cool.
All done with this one! Hey, this fella's a little right. Bet he's got something on him.
You don't gotta give me the play-by-play, Seth.
Meaty, mighty much. No need for money where you're going, friend. It's been a pleasure meeting you.
It's just me and you, partner.
Head left at this turn.
Jesus Christ.
Who's got a kick for Seth?
I'm getting good at this.
Yeah, this feller had a few bucks on him. Keep in touch, old pal. Make a left.
A lot of lefts. Ah! Ah!
Where's my map? Come on. Christ alive! It's the map! I found the map! The car's
Okay, well
burning!
that's cool.
Oh my! Oh my! Is this the quickest you can go? We're okay. Keep going. Looks like the treasure's in Tumbleweed. That's where I was headed. It's fate. Keep going. We're almost there.
Jesus.
Just going on a little trip. Come on, let's get this wagon moving. Can't you see we're in a rush here? Finally, months of searching. I'm gonna be rich beyond my wildest dreams.
Maybe then you can take a bath.
Thanks, mister.
Shocked I lived through that.
Trying to figure this out. I'm gonna be rich.
When you're done with that, get over to Fort Mercer. I need you inside that place.
After I find my treasure, mister.
Okay. We're missing a horse.
Oh, it's like that, is it? Huh? Not talking to Seth today? Oh, the old silent treatment. Oh, whoa, hoo-hoo. That's quite a stimulus.
Hey, Seth. Seth, come back here.
Oh, hey, partner. I was just looking for you.
Looking for me? What? Over there?
How you doing?
I'm good.
Well, see you later, partner.
Where you going, partner?
Nowhere.
Okay. Nowhere wouldn't happen to be where that thing you're looking for is kept, would it?
No, sir. No, sir.
Come on, partner.
Okay, I was just fooling. Partner, you know, the thought of that treasure does funny things to me.
I promise you, I don't want it.
According to the map, it's somewhere in that big abandoned house.
I have a feeling Seth's gonna try and shoot me. It's gonna make me kind of sad.
The bastard
Okay.
followed me here. Did you see these fellers?
Dubious is that look. This should be a fair fight if you could shoot straight.
This can't be happening.
Dude, is that door not open or something? There's a way to, like, sidle against walls, but fuck if I remember how to do it.
You know you're gonna die, right? You really worked me up.
Damn, I can't shoot for shit. What? That's not... There's one more. I'd rather he didn't sneak up on me later.
Do you want to die? Sorry, partner.
Whew. Can't even fucking find them. Where are they? Ah! Control. There's one.
What now?
That's it, partner. Smoke 'em. Come on. Blow their damn brains out. Follow me. Over there. See right there.
Where the fuck even is he? These are times when you want a grenade. But I assume that is not a thing. Actually, I've seen dynamite. There are definitely a thing. Dude.
Just run off home!
Go on! We ain't got much time! You gotta find the treasure for me! Please! I'm begging you!
Okay.
It's locked. Let's try around the back.
Ah.
We're in luck.
What do we gotta check with the gunsmith? A shotgun would do me well.
You best shoot me now or this is over!
There's a way to switch sides you're looking at, too. Ah, there it is.
Do something, mister! They're gonna take my treasure!
Ow.
I'll like 'em better dead!
You can't kill us all, you fools!
Take my advice and run away!
Don't leave any alive!
Well, that was just... Hey.
I had it with you bastards!
Woo!
I did all the work! Me!
You're kind of crazy, Seth.
Can I have this?
Kind of fucking crazy.
That's my damn treasure! Think you can just walk in here?
I think I missed that other guy. There he is.
This can't be happening! Let me see!
Hey, a treasure chest.
Finally! I see the light at the end of this very long, long tunnel. Seth's gonna be rich after all these years. It's silk sheets and Parisian whores from now on, mister.
Seth,
Goddamn hell is this? A glass eye.
I'm sure whoever that belonged to treasured it very much.
Stupid liars. The stupid chicken shit maps.
Yeah.
Making a damn fool of me.
Yeah.
A glass eye. It's a glass eye.
Stop with the tears and help me with Williamson's gang. And you can come up with another excuse to go exhume one of your old friends.
Hunting dead man's treasure ain't done me no favors. Sure. I'm ready for the living.
Why don't you take a bath?
I'll see you and Mr. West Dickens over at Fort Mercer.
Or that.
You gentlemen is ready.
Okay. Thanks. Hey, I mean, he's less crazy than I would have gone. I spend fucking months and exhume fucking corpses to find a treasure and it's a glass eye. You bet your ass I'm replacing my eye. Those hands stay gray? That's a weird fetish you got there, but I guess far be it from me to judge. man, there was also revolver ammo in there. You missed the real treasure. The real treasure was all those people we killed along the way. Whee! Wait. Guys. Oh shit, there it is. I'm dumb. Woo! Alright. I guess he didn't see that coming. I hope she keeps an eye out for my amazing jokes. Seconds from being thrown in the pit. Okay, this time when I go to the M, I'm gonna actually stop at the fucking gunsmith store before I head in. Hey.
Let's go.
Come on, Beatrice. Ow, the sun. Genuinely hurting my eyes a little bit. Where's my wide-brimmed cowboy hat? Huh? Yeah, sure. Hey, man, where you going? Hey! Dude! You need a ride or not? Jesus fucking Christ. The side quests in this game are a little bugged. At the best of times. Oh, I guess I'm doing this. It's a good thing we have a spare.
Mr. Marston.
Spare son?
How
I'm pregnant? They told me it couldn't be done.
I met up with your friend Seth.
He was awful.
Seth of the Dead. Yes, interesting fellow. You don't meet many men these days with the moral fortitude to cut straight to the chase like that, do you?
Thankfully not, Mr. West Dickens.
Yes, contemporary society is remarkably harsh on professional exhumers. But did you know that in ancient Egypt, it was an art form valued more highly than literature? I believe Seth comes from that school of thought.
I don't think there's much thought involved in it.
More about our plan.
Your plan, dear boy. Your plan. I am merely the help, not mercifully the arbiter of wisdom.
What you are, dear boy, is the man whose life I've saved twice now. A man who sells lies and deceit to unwitting people. A man who, if he doesn't help me, I won't think twice about putting a bullet through his skull. Feeding to the vultures myself.
You see, Mr. Marston, you have the exterior of a violent man, but the soul of an angel, and that is what I think I cherish most about you.
Believe what you like, man.
That's what I thought.
But before we can attend to your particular problems, we need some extra lubricant to oil the machinery of business. And this being America, that lubricant with which we concern ourselves is money.
Money? What are you talking about?
Oh, we need weapons. Armor plate for the wagon. Extra hands. And I need some danger money.
Let's sell some more of these cures.
Sell cures? Around here? Do you want to see me lynched? No. The sport of kings. Racing, my friend. The sport of kings. A noble activity. without reproach.
What the fuck are you talking about?
The kind of activity where a lying, cheating degenerate like myself can prosper. But come, let's finish the loading and we'll discuss it as we drive. Now, sir, to Gap Tooth Breach.
Okay.
An interesting fellow, is he not?
I wouldn't say interesting. More deeply
Angel will definitely make you real holy if you push your luck. That one's good. That one's real fucking good.
It's a flaw of mine. I have a soft spot for life's flotsam and jetsam.
Connection with him more like. You and Seth have a lot in common. You both rob people for one. Mind you, at least he waits until they're dead.
Oh, my dear boy. Nobody is more critical of drinkers than a drunk who's mended his ways.
Ha!
What are you talking about?
Come on now, John. I've heard about you. You spent your life robbing people. It's a little inappropriate to be taking the moral high ground now.
I had the courtesy to put a gun in their face.
Whatever helps you sleep easily at night.
We stole from those who had too much. Tried to give to those who had too little.
And Robin Hood with spurs. Oh, romantic. You expect me to believe that poppycock? Maybe I'll have the good fortune to be able to leave my nefarious life behind one day and work on the government's dime.
Don't talk about things you don't understand.
Jesus.
Here, simmer down, my boy. You need to start appreciating your friends more. Folks around here don't see you as any different from Bill Williamson.
I didn't think I'd have to huckster snake oil and dig up the dead, that's all.
Take it from me, John. Collaboration is the key to success. I can help you. Seth can help you. It's business. Nothing more, nothing less. There's no need to make it quite so...
You kind of said a lot of personal shit about me, even though it was all correct.
Here we are, John. Gap Tooth Breach.
What the fuck am I racing? Do I have to race with you in tow? Oh no, it's just wagon racing in general.
Drivers! Y'all know the rules, but for you newcomers, this here's a fair race. Keep to your manners and let the faster cart pass. So now that's been said, y'all can get to running each other off the road like always. All right now, counting to three. Ready, set, go!
Woo! Shooting anybody will cause you to be disqualified. No shit! Jesus, this is fucking insane. Mario Kart 1911. Damn. Oh, you're really gonna fucking keep me going on this nonsense? Alright. Dude. A little shortcut. Which for some reason didn't disqualify me, even though I really feel it should have. Damn, someone's taking the big lead. Hey, man. Sorry, I'm gonna pass you now. Thanks. God, how long is this racetrack? Oh, okay, we're nearing the end. There we are. The physics they've added to that little cart is kind of fucking insane.
John, I suggest we beat a hasty retreat.
Why?
Right, best remove ourselves from the stage before somebody decides they want their money back.
Fine by me.
Isn't that fantastic? The cheers of the crowd, the thunder of the wheels.
The falling rocks, the homicidal maniac.
Oh, come on, John. Even a cold misanthrope like you must have found that just the tiniest bit exhilarating.
My neck.
Not the friendliest bunch, are they?
They take the racing very seriously in these parts, and your participation was not entirely free of food.
That was clear.
Ah, sports, war, and heartache. The guilty pleasures of mankind since the dawn of time.
I'd get away from the men we just swindled before you start waxing too lyrical.
Did we swindle them? I feel like I kind of just won.
Well done, sir. Well done. Having you as a ringer has netted us a fine profit.
We seem to be wasting time, old man.
Oh, patience, my friend. The Trojan horse cannot run before it can walk, if you'll forgive the metaphor.
I won't.
Next, we need to procure some grand and overwhelming
Spooks!
firepower. And for that,
I'm sorry you can't eat, but I'm happy to see you.
goes by the name of Irish.
Irish.
Yes, he's an interesting kind of fellow. He usually can be found in Armadillo or some other town around here on some bacchanalian revel or such.
Great. An alcoholic arms dealer.
What could be better?
What could be better? Okay, bye! Spooks, you missed me making fun of you really, really well, I think. I think I did pretty good. Where am I?
Better off ride with me, mister.
Sure.
Where we heading, mister?
$11? Fuck you.
I need a rest.
I'll sleep when I'm dead. Or, you know, probably soon. Just having fun. Okay, let's finally buy some stuff. Oh. Hey.
Hi there.
There you go.
There you go. What does a bandolier do for me? We can buy a shotgun and a different weird pistol.
I'm thinking
Sure.
that were mutually beneficial.
Sure. What's that? I don't even know.
Well, I'm always after items of quality. Nice doing business.
I don't know what else to do with all this stuff, so I guess I'm just gonna sell it. Only 11? Damn, when I get into a taxi, I just say, take me to $10. Well, sure, modern day money, but like, this is fucking Wild West rules. That's a crazy amount of money.
Hello to you.
That's like a full day's work just for a ride into town. I don't know. What's 18 times 8? It's that much money.
The marshal best step up post haste. Men starting to question his steel.
Oh. Undomitable, don't worry about where I got these things that I'm selling. All the raccoon stuff. I wouldn't think about that. This seems wildly impractical. I feel like maybe I'm not supposed to sell all this shit because they've made it so difficult to sell all of it. Oh, quantity. I could change quantity with... I see. Okay, well that makes it slightly easier. Cool. Okay, what does a fucking volcanic pistol do? I have a shotgun. And no fucking shotgun ammo. But it came with 2. He sold it to me loaded, which is a little crazy. It's kind of weird looking. I like it. Not very cowboy-y, but I fuck with it all the same. I wish I could see, like, stats for it, you know? Okay.
Careful there, friend.
Oh, I'm in your way here. How's it going?
Hey! Ooh.
You will?
Oh, is this now my permanent spot?
I've just been robbed. You gotta stop him.
Ugh, fine.
Fight your tongue. Word to the wise, buddy.
Jesus, he's fast. Whoever just robbed you.
Come on. Yeah.
Hey, man.
Come on. This ain't looking so fine for you.
Damn it!
No.
I always.
Let's not try and shoot me. It's a weird gun in the start menu inventory. Oh, cowboy voice. Well, we out here. That was not. We out here. We out here. We got the whole gang here, and we packing a lip now, boy. Why are you out here smooching my sister? You ain't no son of mine. Just be lucky you my brother too, or I'd kill you. Oh look, I found a penny under the couch. Yeah, doggy! Hawk Patooey and all that good stuff. Jesus Christ, Hoya, what a time to raid. I've just said the most heinous shit to ever. Hi, Hoya! How was stream? Oh my god! Good to see you. What were you doing? Were you playing scary games? Hold on. I can do this. I can beat my own creeps for once. God damn you, Helta. Being too good at your job. Resident Evil? I fucking knew it. How is it? I'm doing cowboy things. I'm bad at it. The horse controls constantly piss me off. We all were on it. We love it. We absolutely love it. We were on it except for me. I was the failure in the operation. The fail point. Leon is so Leon. Oh, and he is, isn't he? Oh, I think I just ran someone over. That's my bad. God, I want Leon to triple backflip and drop kick me. Not because it'd be hot, but just because he's so goddamn extra. I think he deserves it.
So you might want to deal with this fella yourself.
That's the spirit that made this country great, Pard.
Did you just kick him in the head? Seems excessive. You kicked him in the face. Stop! Stop doing that! Dude! Alright. I guess with the sheriff's office right over there, we're just gonna beat his head in with our foot. No, that's chill. Waiting! Hey, guys. Don't even worry about this. This isn't what it looks like. I swear. Delightful witch enjoyers. I swear this was a gift, and I wouldn't not wear a gift. I mean, that'd be rude, right? That would make it, that would be anyway. Oh yeah, thank you so much for raiding. If you got a raid and run, I totally understand and appreciate and support it, because streaming is tiring. I was gonna sleep, but now that the witch enjoyers are here, now that I know we got real connoisseurs of VTubers in the chat, unlike my creeps, who are all, you know, they don't know what the fuck I mean, they spend their time here willingly without anyone pushing them here. Like, that's unreasonable. That's crazy. There's clearly something wrong with them. But yeah, thank you so much. VL request. Completely seriously? I was lying. This is actually 100% exactly what it looks like. Whatever you were imagining or assuming about this is correct. No notes, no correction. I'm down atrocious terribly all the time. And is anyone truly surprised? I love, can I just say, there are many things I love about you guys, but the consistent bribing me to say things and then coercing me to say things with money and then making me say them and trying to imply that they're true is a real consistent theme with you guys that I feel like really should make it less believable, and yet it never does, and yet everyone always believes them. It's quite a system you've rigged against me. Do we want to get distracted with more side quests? Who are you? Walton's gang. I don't really care about Walton. The Top Hat gang over there, they're stylish. They can live. If you're evil, you gotta be stylish. Thems are the fucking rules. You gotta have, like, a nice fluffy cat on your lap, and Captain, I'm going to throw you into the sun. Ah! The ad played? I told it not to, but it played. God damn it. I tried to press snooze. I tried. You couldn't throw me even if you tried? Hey now. Hey now.
I don't have a clue. All right, but it's got to be something to do with that government boy.
We'll talk to him.
What the fuck?
What he knows.
Fucking is. Where is she, Marston?
Where's who?
Who? My daughter, you fucking scum. Where's Bonnie?
I don't know.
No, I haven't seen her since after the fire. Why?
Why? Because she hadn't been seen since yesterday afternoon.
All right.
I don't think I can cope. If I lose another child...
Now, Drew, nobody's lost anything yet. I'm sure she's fine.
Oh, Mr. Marshall! Mr. Marshall! Come out, wherever you are!
Who the hell's that?
Hey, buddy! That'd be your next fucking mayor.
Even better! Good day, Mr. McFarland.
Get down from that horse, boy, or I'll shoot.
I wouldn't recommend that, mister. Not if Drew McFarland wants to see his Bonnie back in one piece. Hey, Mr. McFarland! This is a nice girl you got there.
Get out from there!
You know, part of me's got to thinking I should just marry her myself. Give her a baby and that.
Evil McEvilstein.
That's better.
I know they're just trying to make me really excited to shoot him in the face, but fuck, it's working.
Get your daughter back, mister.
We don't do deals with outlaws, boy.
Yeah, you do. Let's not waste each other's time pretending otherwise. Oh, government themselves ain't much more than a bunch
I
of
have when my snooze doesn't snooze. Me when I make fun of Moth for not being able to spell and then I can't spell. Also, you're tearing this family apart.
And I'm giving you the opportunity to get your daughter back before 15 friends of mine take out all their anger and their loneliness on her.
Where the hell is she?
Where is she, boy? Bring Deke up to Tumbleweed in a couple hours. And don't get no funny ideas, or I will slit that horse throat myself.
I can't believe Halta has done thisy. Yeah. Yeah. I love that we have someone to blame, after all. That's just what I appreciate about this.
Mr. McFarland, I'll get you your daughter back. I owe her that.
Please do.
Oh. Hey, welcome back to ads. From ads. Anyone who was stuck in ads. Missed you. Blinks innocently in I tried to hit snooze and instead hit run 3-minute ad.
Hurry up, boy. Let's go. Quick as you can, Deputy.
Reading is never my strong suit. What the fuck are you people talking about? All right.
Let's get this charmer to Tumbleweed.
Ah! Captain! Your hand slipped. Your hand slipped once, and then another time, and then possibly one more time just to confirm.
In other words, a glorified errand boy.
Wait, Marshal! I'll be back for you!
Bill standards have slipped.
We already filled you with lead once, you ugly
Deke's
bastard!
the kind of man who's mean enough to be second in command, but too cowardly and stupid to ever be a leader.
Don't ever use that line near your deputies. You know, for his sake, they'd best not have laid a finger on Miss McFarland. What is this place we're headed?
Cap just has tremors in his hands.
Some people say it's haunted.
Crazy. Absolutely crazy. Phoebe got a sub. Never mind, it was all worth it. I'm no longer mad at you.
That was that. Pretty soon everybody had up and left. Now it's just thieves, smugglers.
Hell yeah, brother. And I've always said that.
Popular spot for lynchings too.
Let's try to avoid that if we can, Marshal.
Come on. I just hope you're not taking advantage of the McFarland, Marston.
They saved my life. Gave me food and bed when they had no idea who I was. I owe them more than I can ever repay.
That's just they've been through a lot. Well, they're both vulnerable, different ways.
I wouldn't have been running in and out of a burning barn to save their horses otherwise.
I know you helped, just like you helped me. But you got your reasons for doing it.
It's no secret why I'm here, Marshal. I told you the very first time I walked into your office.
I trust you. It's just all this business with Blackwater and Williamson and the past. I don't know. Sometimes it's hard not to have doubt.
I understand.
Sure.
I never planned to be in the lawman business neither.
How was this mess supposed to turn out? Pinning an outlaw to
work of a lawman. That's madness.
Ain't much difference between the two, as far as I can tell.
There have to be rules, Marston. Even you must understand that.
It's easy to make up rules, but they ain't much use if people don't understand why. Like my son, if I tell him not to do something, he'll do it anyway, just to spite me. If I punish him, he resents me for it. But if I show him why it's wrong, at least he has reason not to do it again.
That's nonsense. Laws were nothing more than animals. Just look at Deke here.
Go to hell!
Man has worked hard at civilization. Your boy steps out of line, you whack him. He does it again, whack him harder.
You're a good man, Marshal, and I respect what you're trying to do. From what I've seen since I've arrived here, the law ain't really working.
Criminals are like weeds, Marston. Quick as you stomp one out, another one sprouts up in its place. It's the nature of places. You know that as well as I do.
I don't know that I do.
The laws is everybody ain't the same. And why should a bunch of rich university boys in the East get to decide how a man in Armadillo should live his life?
Well, maybe you're right about that.
Lots of places, I suppose. I've been living up on a little farm in West Elizabeth for the past few years.
No, I mean, what's your nationality? I'm Irish myself.
You're about as Irish as I am Scottish.
I am Irish, you son of a bitch.
An Irishman who's never left New Austin. My father was a Scot who never stepped foot in Scotland. You gotta admire the patriotism.
Perhaps you need somebody to mind you your manners.
Only a coward hides behind a bag.
Yeah. Yeah, that wasn't really what that conversation was about, man, but I appreciate you trying to input something. Injector case full of don't make brain go burr.
You're a man, do you?
What the fuck is going... A lot happened in that conversation. Just arguably too much happened. Emery, you bug-throwing bastard. What are you still doing?
John, you'll be exchanging the prisoner for Bonnie in the middle of town. Keep your eyes open. I sincerely doubt these scum plan to play fair.
Fair my ass.
You bet. Besides, Norm here is gonna be my shield, ain't you, Norm?
It'd be my pleasure.
Marston, lead Deke into town. Make sure you keep a gun on that son of a bitch.
I'm sure it's been nice for the boys to have a whore to play with. Dang! What the hell?
I need to move.
Ow. Whoops.
John, you lead Deke into town.
Yeah, that's probably fair.
Don't try anything stupid.
I'm walking, goddamn.
Come on.
Go and lick the marshal's boots. All right, I'm moving.
Move.
You just wait. You'll get yours, you son of a bitch.
Just shut up and move.
All right, sunshine. Let's move.
I'm walking,
On super cool to finish laundry so we can kill zombies. You know what I get when I'm restless?
I thought we had a deal.
You know what? That's true.
You thought wrong. We don't make deals with the law.
John, you gotta get the body before they kill her.
You're gonna leave this in a box.
I cannot aim for shit with this thing.
Where's Bonnie, you sons of bitches?
Yeek! Okay, cover. Cover? I hardly know her.
Hey, where are you? Where is she, you bastard?
Ah! Oh!
In there.
Where is she? Ah! Okay. God, good. I almost died. Have I tried getting good? I literally won!
I'm fine now, Mr. Marston. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, I do need to do
What the
that.
hell took you so long, stupid man?
You weren't exactly helping me.
If you think I'm gonna lower myself by making a joke about being all tied up, you got another thing coming.
Come on, it was right there. Fucking hell. Okay. Yeah, what is the difference between these two? More power, less range? Sure, makes sense. Less rate of fire, a little more ammo capacity. Yeah, sure. Lots of power. I know what a shotgun is. What are you? You're just a little worse in every way, except you take a little longer to reload, but that's fine. Cool. Okay, don't try and use the volcanic pistol at range. Noted. I really don't get what their plan was. They didn't want the guy out of jail. Maybe they did want to kill him. Maybe they wanted to make sure he didn't say anything. And then killing us was a kind of bonus. At that point, why not just have killed Bonnie? Well, I guess I could guess why. Fucking grim. But we succeeded, so. Some corpses up here. Chores are finally done in Showerhead? Let's fucking go! And she fought tooth and nail against those dishes. I knew you had it in you. If you have anything on you, that's crazy. Yeah. You were a prisoner. Oh, you had pistol ammo. How the fuck did you have that? And where did I find it? Do I want to know? Probably not. Hold on. She's taking her sweet time. There you are. Come on. Come on, Beatrice. You fucking... Ah!
Let's go.
Smooth criminal me out of my fucking shoes. I guess I'll just go for Nigel. I think there's a gunsmith on the way. I just want to see what new is being sold. I almost killed myself again off a fucking cliff. This happens far too often. Happens all the time, and I still find myself just sprinting off the beaten path. What could go wrong? Bit those dishes in the neck and ripped out their carotids? Carotids? Carrots? Carrot tits? Ow, ow. Oh, he just killed the fuck out of me. Okay, well that's cool. Yeah, I was gonna make a hot joke, but then I couldn't say carotids. Hi.
Hey there! Boy, you don't even remember what...
Paper said cholera is...
Oh. Our store's not open this late or something? And I don't have a wait mechanic?
I'm sorry, sir.
Well, damn. Ah! The world's going crazy.
What do I even do? I guess I could just...
Hey, you! The Cincinnati guy! Come over here!
The what? Okay.
Tough time, miss?
Ow! Fucking hell. Stop doing that. You just shoot that dude? I mean, I guess he did draw on me and everything, but... Carotids? Sure. I can sleep in my room. He was gonna challenge me to a duel. Oh. Hi.
Careful. Quick, the flash bastards. Mister. She's gone.
Who is?
Did she take the fucking kids?
My wife. She's gone.
Happens to the best of us.
She went out picking mushrooms in the hills near Hanging Rock and they got her. The stories
Oh.
are true.
What did the police do about it?
Oh, about as much as you'd expect. Made me fill out a form. Beryl ain't strong, but she's a good girl.
I'll see what I can do.
Man, they really do just have a morning chair right there. Do you want to fight me? I'm kind of good, actually. Thanks, though.
Let's go.
Wait. Is this it? Actually, I can't tell. Sure, let's just try. It's my B-Day! Wolf Gamer, happy birthday! That's so fucking cool! Thanks for spending a portion of it here.
Let's go.
How has it been so far? You do anything fun? You got any fun plans? Get anything good? Yeah, I'm going the right way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ah. Oh, an arm. They shot off her fucking arm! Oh, that's it, huh? Yeah, I guess not much to be done about that. Well, woof. And that's not just making fun of the new wolf among us. Moth Girl 45, Jesus! I didn't realize there was that many of, well, I guess I kind of did realize there was that many of us, but I kind of hoped against it. Well, number 45, how's your day going? I hope you get all the attention you need after 1 through 44. Wait, what am I among 1 through 44? Oh god, I'm not over 45, am I? Oh no. All sorts of terrible things have come to mind. Comic-Con thing. You went to Comic-Con? There is a Comic-Con happening right now? That's fucking awesome. Guys, you know I've never been to a con. I really want to. And I said and then I didn't have any words. But yeah, I do really want to.
Let's go.
Fallout 3. What? Ah! Sorry, what? Going to meet the voice actors of One Piece. Oh! I missed a step. I missed a reading thing. Cons are great. Should go. Very true and fair. I want to go to a VTuber con. That sounds really fun. I want to go meet my parasocial wife and drool. The person I imagine her to be would be very excited to see me. Last time I went was when me and my husband met Tara Strong. I do not know who that is. All I can think of is Susan Strong from Adventure Time.
What the hell do you want?
I don't know. There's a question mark on you.
I didn't know anyone lived out here. Whoa.
Jesus. Whoa.
Now you can't rob the place, now can you? Now get.
Rob it of what?
Friendly old bastard, ain't you?
I don't need me no friends, friend.
We all need friends, old timer. We die alone, but we live among men.
All right, poet. Let's stop with the poetry once you have a... Oh, it worked. Never mind. Continue with the poetry.
Interested in moving out this way with my family. Would you be willing to sell me a parcel of land? We wouldn't even have to speak or nothing.
Land's too dry for farming. Bandits run all the cattle off. Why you want this land?
I guess I just like the scenery.
Well, I don't know. Maybe for $200 I could give you the deed to this land, find myself a place up in Blackwater.
That's where I come from.
Although I never could stand the people down there. No, sir.
She voiced Harley Quinn, Twilight Sparkle, and Raven? Oh my god, she's my hero.
Okay.
Sure, fuck it.
I'll take it.
I'll buy land. I'm a landowner.
Here you go then, partner. Good luck out here.
What? Jesus, man. Fucking trigger happy. Turn to McAllister's camp with the good news. Ah! It's like $7,000 today. Cheap as fuck. Yeah. I mean, sounds like he wasn't too happy with it. Not that not being too happy with it would make you sell it fucking $7,000 nowadays. I don't have anything but me in a suit, right? Yeah. No, I'm good. Thanks. Cool, I have a house now. I have a house? I have an outhouse with no fucking door? Well, I did say I like the scenery. Jesus, this place looks like shit. Alright, cool. Anyway, a weird side quest.
Come on.
Ah! I do actually want the cattleman's pistol over the fucking other thing. The volcanic pistol. I think I do, actually. I like range. I'm a revolver slut at the end of the day, and it is stylish. I will give it that at all times.
Let's go.
Guys, that seemed dramatic. I'm not gonna lie.
Let's go.
Yippee!
Tough one, ain't you?
Bum ba dum bum bum. The temptation to find a mod that skips the skinning cutscene. It's just like... It's a good way to make money. I'm just like... impatient. Or to just do it once, but auto do it to all like animals within like a certain distance. That would also be pretty useful. I think someone's being eaten alive down there, but that's... kind of sounds like a them problem. I've been to Sakura-Con once. It was very crowded. Still played some DDR though, after waiting for a long time. Are you really good at DDR? Or was that just the appeal of going there? Some dude is grunting over here, and I want to be involved. Repentance Rock? A very dramatic name. Okay, well, I wasn't able to find the grunting man. Incredibly disappointing. Ah! Excuse me. Ah! The slowest fall of anyone. Went to a small convention once. I just happened by one when I was back in Redacted City. We love Redacted City. And its small conventions. Nah, I'm not gonna do that. Gone to a few cons pre-COVID times, I assume. At one point I wanted to do a panel for one of them, but never got around to work on it. What kind of panel?
Yeah.
I used to play it a lot and was really good at it. I don't know if I still am good at DDR. I haven't played in years. I know what stream idea needs to occur. Okay, well, we didn't find a gunsmith, but we found Dick.
Mr. Marston, sir. John Marston. Mr. Marston, don't be so childish. Come on, sir, I implore you. Okay, so I made a few innocent mistakes when last we met. But my plan is still sound. Together we can conquer, if not the world, then certainly Bill Williamson.
But first, you need me to do you a favor?
You read my mind. I can only deduce you have been taking my tonic, sir, as instructed. It can give the most ordinary of intelligences a remarkable insight.
Call me of ordinary intelligence once more.
I'll show you what your guts look like.
Please, sir, this show of petulance is nothing short of embarrassing. Think for a moment, sir. Think.
I'm thinking about how much of my time you're wasting.
Definitely not streaming myself playing DDR. Absolutely not.
I am about to do something.
What if I beg? What if I plead?
Greatly discourage in all wise and rational men. A selfless act for you. But sir, before I act selflessly, allow me to act selfishly and sell some of my wares.
Fair enough.
Oh, good sir. Come, and let's go visit some of our fine friends in the other oil business we have here in Plainview. These men need all the help they can get.
You're gonna make me do another trick shot and fight someone, aren't you?
Ladies and gentlemen, gather round, gather round. My friends, are you ready to change your lives forever?
Friends, hardworking souls of Plainview, do you suffer from rheumatism, lumbago, acute chronic sciatic, neurologic, or inflammatory pain? Well, I represent the only company that makes the genuine article which cures headache, neuralgia, toothache, earache, backache,
This man is a fucking charlatan. He just got done swindling us down at Cho Springs with this song and dance.
I say we tar and feather him right now.
I say we shoot the
I
bastard.
think it's time we take our business elsewhere. I apologize if science is not your forte. Good day, one and all.
Ah!
Looks like we've been scuppered. Let's get out of here. All right, you ride shotgun.
Okay.
Let's go, my boy.
Do I have to shoot these guys? I don't really think they're in the wrong necessarily. I guess I'll just kill their horses. Oh, well, that wasn't what I wanted. Ah! Well, that was in the thigh. Maybe you'll be okay. I mean, you won't. But...
Can't we talk about this?
So there was a scene in the Ground Zero Medieval game I played where Small Grey Cat had the maxed out strength, and once you max out a stat the first 3 times, I think, you get an extra ability. And for strength, it was, you know, as one would expect, superhuman strength. You could do, like, absolutely crazy shit. And so she was being chased by a knight on horseback, a full plate knight on horseback, and she was on foot. And this is a kind of grim medieval setting, so that kind of thing, that's a death sentence is what that is. And she was like, I'm gonna turn around, I'm gonna punch the horse in the head and try and kill it. And this is done often when someone gets 5+ strength, because there was the joke that when the ability was first made, when the ability was first made, it was called Horse Puncher, and it was one of the examples for one of the crazy feats of strength you could do was punch a horse and kill it dead. I think it's from a movie. But she did that and she ground zeroed, which is like above a crit. You have to roll 2 ones and have a -2 modifier in the thing you're rolling. So I had it kill the horse dead and the knight flew off the fucking handle, flew off the seat and like landed. I described him like sailing through the air and landing with his head directly against the brick and snapping his neck. And it was like the coolest fucking moment in that goddamn game.
That tonic I drank at Ridgewood went through me like a dose of salt.
Ah! Jesus. Guys! Stop! I'm begging you. It's actually really difficult to not kill you. Okay, well you shot my friend, so you are going to die, actually.
Good God, there's more of them!
Oh, whoops. Okay. But, I mean, all that to say, shooting their horses out from under them at full gallop is probably still killing them, but, you know. Because that's just, like, repeated car crashes. I'm dooming them to car crashes, each and every one of them. In fairness, after the first fucking guy comes and dies, like, everyone after that is... I mean, I guess, no, they're kind of doing a public good to kill this guy.
We made it, John.
Well, I mean, good is a strong word. Is it robbery to sell shitty products? Like, I don't know. Maybe they are being a bit dramatic. He's not selling faulty medicine, he's selling imaginary medicine.
Thank you, my dear boy.
But if you believe in a panacea, then, like, you're kind of your own fool, aren't you?
Always impresses me with the speed with which a group of men can turn from passive sheep into murderous wolves.
I'm impressed with how you nearly got us killed back there.
Yes, perhaps we should shelve the tonics business for a period.
Let's say we try our hand at racing again. There's a meet at Rathskeller.
You're trying my patience, Mr. West Dickens.
Well, I'm sorry, dear boy, but I'm only an aging vendor of exotic elixirs, not the bloody U.S. cavalry. And forgive me if matters take some time to prepare.
There's one autograph my husband that is officially hard to... Ah! Jesus.
This is a messy one.
Damn. Can't shoot to save my life. Alright, Dick. What else you got?
Mr. West Dickens!
Oh shit, I should really wrap up stream at some point.
Wonderful to see you, sir. How wonderful.
Are we ready then?
Yes, sir. Nearly, sir. Very nearly, sir. I just need some cash to get some extra hardware fitted to my old Trojan horse here.
Oh, no. Yeah.
What?
I mean, I'm sure DDR would be impressive and fun even if it was just the inputs being shown, right?
I will not take umbrage if some of my illusions sail over your head, sir.
I'll shoot you.
I tend to understand you, but I will endeavor to make you understand me. Either we do this right now, or I put a bullet in you and get on with my day.
Please, I knew you were a violent man, Mr. Marston, but I did not think you were a stupid one. We need money to
Stan Lee autograph plus pictures with him? That is very, very sweet. I am deeply jealous.
Subterfuge. And I'm about to tell you how we are going to gain said cash. Now I know that you ride very well. So come, sir, to Rathskeller Fork.
More horse racing.
Follow me, John. It's not too far to Rathskeller Park.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how are you, John?
Okay, all things considered, hopefully we can get through today without running into another army of your satisfied customers.
Onwards and upwards. I refuse to let the blind stupidity of the proletariat derail my calling in life.
You're calling to scam people?
Come on. Come on. Come on.
See? You're like, oh, but the showmanship would be missing. And I yearn for the showmanship.
How do you do?
You can't beat a good horse.
Oh. I didn't realize I got to use my own horse this time. Oh, well then I'm definitely gonna win, because I have the cheating horse that I got for buying the game.
Let's go. Whoa. Gentlemen, this will be a fair race. No shooting, stabbing, cliff pushing, rock throwing, cactus grinding, neck lassoing, setting fires, or other acts that causes a rider to unfairly lose his weight, or bleed heavily, or black out. Get yourselves ready. Set. Go.
Come on.
Come on! Jesus.
Yeah. Come. See you later. Nice try, mister. Idiot. You got no chance. Yeah. Come on. Let's go. Watch and learn. Yeah. 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 Come on. Get back. There you go. I got you. I ain't waiting around. Oh, shit. Out of my way. Oh, this one's mine. Let's go. Let's go.
Ah!
Yeah. Let's see what you're made of.
Jesus, this is... Again, I don't fully understand how the fucking running system for horses work. Anytime I'm not slamming the shift button, I slow down. But it seems like they can kind of maintain their speed. But we did it anyway!
He saw, he conquered. What a fantastic spectacle, John. Let's take a moment.
Aw, that sucks that you don't have your DDR partner. That sounds fucking awesome.
We got enough money now?
All right. Yes, once Seth and Irish have furnished their side of the bargain, I think we should be ready. Quite a team we've assembled, don't you think?
A bunco, a grave robber, and a drunk. How could things possibly go wrong?
Okay, I gotta find a place to save.
Wanna play some blackjack?
Nope. Oh. Damn, so many places to purchase. Whoa. I have a bath. That's cool. Okay. Now we can save our game. My haws have been yeed. I've yeed my last haw. Anyway, that is fucking awesome. And I don't know. It always sucks to look back and be like, damn, I was definitely tournament ready, but like, that's fucking awesome that you were doing it in any case in front of people. That does not sound like the best thing for the knees. Now get out of here, sleep creature. Sleep would be, oh my god, sleep would be incredibly wise in this moment. Let's see who's fucking live. Let's get a little bit of music. Not Careless Whisper again. Love you. No, not that. Sure. I was a sexy little light balloon in a corner of a king's hot tomb where the hatred started. Going choo-choo. I was a rat on a burning ship, and when we sucker fires got put out, it was just like the Great Plague. Just like the birth of underwear. Hey dude, I ain't everything you do, but I'm trying really hard to not hate you. Thank you all for being here. It was a really fun stream with all of you. You guys make it a fucking blast to stream for you. Ooh, some cool options. You know who I haven't raided in forever? Because I always get fucking scared because she's incredible. We're gonna go check out Tiamato! If you have not seen her, you're missing out. She's funny, she's an incredible artist, she's an incredible singer, she's the whole fucking package, and she's a fucking dragon. She's a dragon who draws herself with a chunky tail, like a little lizard tail. It's fucking awesome. There's actually nothing better. So, grab a raid message. If you don't have my emotes, please replace them with anything that you fucking want. The world is your goddamn oyster. You can take one of the weirder ones if you want. You fucking freaks. Join the Discord if you're not in the Discord, if you want to be notified when I'm going live, but more importantly, be able to keep up with the weirdness of all my creeps, because then you'll see that I actually always steal jokes, and that is how I am funny, is these creeps. I'm stealing all of their content. It's lovely. I cannot believe you had me in bunny suit for the rest of the stream. Literally 9 minutes left on it. I almost escaped. I almost escaped dressing to your whims. I love you guys dearly. You are a fucking blast always. I will see you in 2 fucking days for Hades, which will be a lot of fun. Hopefully we will complete it one more time. At least one more time. If not a double, at least once. The fact that I can stream later into the night is definitely going to be helpful in beating up my father. Anyway, bye! Love you! Don't make you suck any less. Hating you won't